Good. I was going to say morning, but it's not morning.
Hello!
Hello!
Watching this might be in the morning. Who knows what time zone they're in?
Yeah, but I count where I am. I don't like to think about the past. I like to think about the future.
It's like, yeah, but it's the future. Maybe like the morning.
I don't think anyone in the future
Maybe it's
is in the
no,
morning.
it's the present. Like it's in the present. People in like India are in the morning, or something. That's how time zones work. Yeah.
Yeah,
Good morning, Indians.
Yeah. Anyway.
Or was it the other way?
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah,
Would
India.
it?
I think India's in the morning still.
Good morning, Indians. Good afternoon, everywhere else. As you were.
Well, either way. I am a good boy. I'm AROM17Z here today, joined by only one of the usual suspects, a person who's never been alone with me during a kiln.
I've been alone with you before, wink wink.
Yeah, I know before, but like...
Jeez.
This is your first time being alone with me. Oh.
Can't wait for the 8th and last episode.
I would laugh at an 8th in this episode.
See how that fucking works.
I wanna laugh at an 8th in this episode because you guys essentially have all the presets that I use in our DM chat, in our group chat. So it's not that hard to replicate.
I just go make my own account. Like, hi, this is the Kiln 8th on this episode.
I mean, I just
stream off mine.
I don't go on the Kiln one.
What the fuck would we discuss?
Yeah, Star Wars, I assume.
Probably.
Probably Star Wars. I can't add a lot to Star Wars. Sad. But anyway, the Calibri Body said he'll be joining later. But that's neither here nor there. Today we're talking about manga. The people who create the manga that we all know and love. Or maybe know. Or maybe love. Or you just hate it. Who knows? It's up to you. Who gives a shit?
Who would you put the manga of manga you hate?
Huh?
Oh yeah, no, I hate One Piece actually. But I didn't even put fucking Metroid.
But anyway, let's get into the 3x3s. And first, it's mine. Mine is first. Did it change?
All those people.
Yes, yeah. All those people. That is why I will be helping you because I'm pretty sure I'm the only person who can recognize.
That's not even a picture of Echiro Oda.
It's not. Oh shit! I just like searched.
It's the first one that shows up, but it's not him.
It's not. Oh fuck! I thought it was. Is it not?
No. It's a misdistributed image. I think he's a game creator.
Sometimes these fucking images are just annoying.
But yeah, there aren't many public images of many mangaka, except fucking Araki.
Yeah. It's one of the first ones that fucking comes up. It's so annoying.
Exactly. Yeah, it is annoying. We all hate it, but it shows up.
I didn't even realize. Oh, well. I just assumed, he's Asian.
I only realized because it is a popular misattributed image.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you could any of these people. I'd be like, yeah, absolutely. That's probably Janji Ito in the middle. I believe that.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh. Oh well. Well.
I should put
that's
like
so
fake.
Because even when I was looking around, I saw like the same image for like different people when I was making these. And they were the same bloody person in the same picture. He's a mangaka. I don't know which mangaka he is. Because it said his name was the three like different people. You know who's very easy to like, I feel like is very pronounced is probably Araki.
Yeah, Araki's fucking everywhere. You're not going to mistake him.
Yeah, Araki is everywhere. You wouldn't. Nah. But either way, I'm doing the SE witchy thing. And starting us off is Yuto Tsukuda and Shun Seki. I think. Also, it just says on even during the thing, it just says the contributor is Yuki Morisaki, who just I think helps with like the food stuff for Food Wars, because these are the authors of Food Wars.
Ah.
Yeah.
So they have a different artist for the food.
Yes.
That reminds me of Nozaki
No, not the
Kun.
artists. I think it says contributor, so I don't know what they do. I never really looked into it. I think they just might help with how the recipes and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It does remind me of like nothing else Nozaki Kun. Mikashiba can't draw for shit, but he can draw flowers, and that works well for a shoujo manga. So he just comes in and draws flowers in some panels and fucks off.
Yeah. Exactly like that. But either way, this is one of the weirder ones because Food Wars is my second favorite series of all time, right? And I think what really makes me appreciate the series, and especially like when you have like two people working on a manga together, is sometimes how good everything kind of flows together. And teamwork can be something incredible when making a manga because you're not only getting the input of just one dude, you're having two people be the gods and creating an amazing story. And sometimes that can be something to enhance the story or could be a detriment to it. And I think Food Wars is a very good story, a very good series, even, as well as I just love the art of the manga. I love it. And I know, like, later on, if they ever produce a Shokugeki no Sanji volume, just give it. Just give me it.
I'll buy that shit.
Yeah. I mean, it is a bit sad, like, because, like, most of their works, I think, is just, like, Food Wars, especially the author. I think he's only done Food Wars. So, on this list, honestly, he's probably one of the youngest artists or mangaka I have on this list. All of my other mangaka are pretty old and they've done multiple shits, unless they're just kind of only been working on one series consistently forever. Oda Araki. I'm sorry, what was that?
Araki's done other things. No one cares. He's done other things.
I mean, Oda's technically written other one-shots and done other things.
Oda was what's it called? Assistant on one thing.
Yes.
A couple things.
Yes. Most known for Rurouni Kenshin, who he actually contributed a character to.
Yay.
Yes. But either way, I don't know what else to say about Food Wars, honestly. I just love the series so goddamn much. And I just... especially the manga, because I am a manga supremacist as well. And being just two guys being in their youth, creating such a wonderful story. And then you look at the food, even in the manga, it's fucking beautiful. How the food is bloody designed, the character design, everyone, the way characters look, the unique little things, the quirks, whatever.
Their expressions.
Shown. Yeah. Or even just like the other things like that's in the anime when they like reference other series.
The JoJo fight.
The JoJo fight, yeah. But I just love, I think, the character designs of it feel so uniquely them. It feels so soft, but also so strong as a shonen manga. And just the story in general isn't like anything I've really ever seen before in anything else. Like, because usually the closest thing I always compare this to is essentially sports anime, where it has that little essence of like, oh, there's a competition, growing your skills, the drama of it. But this one just makes you hungry. And I think I really fell in love, especially with Soma and like the main character, especially in this series, about how he's nothing really all that special. And it's even said that he doesn't really have any unique skills like a lot of his classmates have at Tatsuki. He's nothing really special. He just works hard and kind of just makes me want to work harder. And I'm more grateful for the character that has been brought before me, because anytime I rewatch Food Wars or even reread it, I always get inspired to like work harder on what I'm doing and just keep pushing myself. And I think if a series can actually connect with your audience and help you and bring you and make you feel like you can be a better person, I think the manga is a fantastic piece of work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great piece of fiction.
Yeah. Next one, I actually don't have any of their manga. I do want their manga. But the next one on my list is Takehiro Inoue, who is the author, the mangaka, whatever, artist. He is the creator of both Vagabond and Slam Dunk. So we just went straight into... Honestly, I think he's here more for the fact that of the...
Hiatuses?
Not the hiatuses. I mean, I think he's more here just for his art itself. Because his art is something uniquely amazing. It really shows the expression of everything. And I think he's one of those people in a generation, especially that, like, not a lot of people remember people doing other works or think about things like... Because these aren't, like, household names. These aren't, like, celebrities who, like, oh, they're in this, they're in this, they're like... They're in that, they're in that. This is a lot more unseen and unheard of when you look at a series, especially when you have an audience who mostly consumes these series through anime watching. You never really hear their names, you never really get to see what they do. What was that noise? What the hell was that?
There was a I don't know. It's the only notification app on my phone that notifies me with a noise. I don't like it.
I thought that came from me. I'm thinking, is there something shoved up my ass? But no, like, even if he has like all the hiatuses and whatnot, I'm fine with it. He's an old writer. He's already done an amazing series of Slam Dunk, which for their generation was like their best sports anime that brought upon like the greatness of other sports anime. Like, I always feel like there's like kind of 3 generations of like sports anime. Like the kings. Slam Dunks is like of the old generation. Kuroko was when I started, or Kuroko was the time when I watched, and when by the time you started watching, yours was Haikyuu, and now it's Haikyuu is the king of like the sport. But to do that, and then just completely shift genres and whatnot, and create something even, I would say, more just greater than his previous work, which of course is very different. Like, this is more about like martial artists, more a Japanese aesthetic. And you look at this man and you think he's a fucking samurai, might I say. Out of all the men, mangaka, because a lot of them at times just feel like old and weak. This man, you look at him and he's like, is that a samurai? Is that a real samurai? The man, it looks badass.
I'm interested in more Inoue's like actual full-on paintings, because the way he does the art in Vagabond a lot is just actual painted works.
Yeah, which is why it's like
the way it looks is fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, which is why I don't often care about the fact that yes, it has a lot of hiatuses, because he actually produces something amazing with it. It's not like it's Togashi where his art doesn't get better or whatnot. It's just, it honestly gets worse. And the typing gets longer. Like, that
that's
feels
just because he's a sickly man. He can only do so much.
Yeah. But he actually, you really get the essence of this person cares about their work. And especially with someone whose series isn't as pronounced to have an anime. Like, Slam Dunk does have an anime. But
he's even getting a new anime. It's either a new anime or a live action film. It's still big enough for more adaptations to this day.
And even with that, it doesn't feel like that's really what people loved about it. I feel like, from what I know and heard from other people and their experiences with this, with Inoue, is the fact that their first connection with him was more to do with the manga itself than like any sort of anime or anything else. People read the manga, they read the series. That's how they got introduced to this person. And I think even with me, because I watched the anime of Slam Dunk before I did anything. Like, this was probably like after I watched Kuroko no Basket or whatnot, because I absolutely adored Kuroko no Basket at the time. I still love it, but like not as much as I used to. Other sports anime just kind of came in and thwopped it. But I think when it comes to a mangaka, but when it comes to a mangaka, like, people who can transcend from what they've done before and create something that can be seen as something that's even better, and like you really gotta feel about like this is someone who knows what they're doing. They're creating something good, and it's something like Vagabond is one of those series that still is talked about, like as being like in that top running like best manga of all time kind of pools. That usually One Piece and Berserk are always in.
You had One Piece, Berserk, JoJo's Part 7, Vagabond.
Yeah.
Sometimes I see Haikyuu up there. I don't particularly disagree, but
yeah, sometimes
I don't particularly agree either.
Yeah. The same thing I think happens.
I love it, but
the same thing I think happens with anime. It's just different anime. It's like Attack on Titan. Attack on Titan, Hunter x Hunter 2011.
Oh, Hunter, right? Yeah, of course.
Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood.
Fuck, forgot about fucking. Yeah,
like those ones.
Yeah,
are
all
always
those are
like
the great ones.
But when it comes to manga, it's different. Sorry.
When it comes to manga, Vagabond's usually above them.
Alright. Next one is Inio Asano, who is the creator of Goodnight Pum Pum. I also wrote down another series like I kind of read. I haven't read it. I haven't like finished. I just kind of read
I read more of the other series than I have.
Dead Demons, Dead Destruction. That's the other title.
Didn't he have like a
Is that other ones? Yeah.
A volume called Downfall, which was more like a biopic?
Yes, I think so.
Read that? I haven't read it.
No, like I've seen he's done a lot of other work, and it's just like, oh god. But like I haven't fully gone into a lot of his work, because after reading Goodnight Pum Pum, I think if you read Goodnight Pum Pum, you understand why I don't just like see. I have to be in the mood to be depressed.
Yeah.
Because if you don't know what Goodnight Pum Pum is, it's depressing as all hell. I will not talk about the story, but one of the main reasons why he's here is definitely because of the story, and because of how he could create something so masterful, and have one of the best. Like this is like top tier. Like if you're trying to get the best mangaka artists, top tier. He's up there. He's ruling the realm. He's ruling the realm. He's up there with
double page. I like the double page threads. Just absolutely beautiful. And then you're just got a walking tampon.
Yes, that's the main character, and I love that fact. He has such a realistic and such a brilliant art style that he draws his world in, and then his main character is literally just a walking tampon with a beak. That's
all
main character.
I know it's depressing, and the main character's a fucking tampon with legs.
It's depressing.
I imagine you're laughing on the outside and crying on the inside. I'm just laughing. This is funny.
Yeah, because if you read this series, I think you could.
I'm sure I will, but it's something I've been putting off for a while for some reason.
Trust me, you have to be in the mood to read this shit. Because after a few chapters, you're gonna be looking at me like, "What have I done? Why am I reading this?" But still, it is an amazing piece of work, and he's definitely here for the art and for the story, and it's just quite impressive how he was able to do this. And even Goodnight Pum Pum's like in that running of like, not a lot of people I feel like read it or are conscious of it a lot, because I don't feel like people would want to read it sometimes, because it can get that real dark and depressing. It can make you feel shit. I remember like the last time I reread it at the like in
the
latter half of last year, and like I was just like reading, and by the end of it I was just kind of like in tears, because that's how emotional it actually made me felt. It got to me, and again, like I said with Food Wars, when a manga can get you to feel shit, that's when you know you give a shit. That's when you know that the story is amazing. You know that they can create something that you will enjoy, you will love, and all that crap. You can get so invested into it that even you can just be sitting there crying and being depressed. I laugh about it now, but like, Jesus.
It won't take a lot to get me to cry over something, to be fair.
With you, yeah, I know. With me, depends. Depends on what occurs. Yeah. Anyway, next up, a man like who? I mean,
It needs no introduction.
No, like this is like the one mangaka that I feel like if I see a picture of him, I know exactly who it is, and of course it's Hirohiko Araki, the creator of JoJo's, all of JoJo's. He's done little things before that, like a series called Bow, which he kind of revitalized as Cars. And he's had other one shots, and I think he's a real big fan of like the westerns, and like that cowboy kind of like trope. Especially when you see a lot of his earlier work. Honestly, when it comes to a man like Araki, I think it's a lot more about quality. The fact that he's old as shit, and he still has a consistent schedule, and then on top of that, when an artist gets older, usually you always assume that their art gets worse. But no! This man, halfway through his first 6 parts, just completely changed up his style. It just went from that kind of stereotypical thing that he was put into during a tough time of, like, the big start of the boom in terms of shonen manga, to what he's doing now and really just creating his own story. And he definitely has one of those art styles where you look at it and you know it's JoJo's. Like, because no one else draws like him. No one even comes close to drawing like him. And it's this real, like, old... It feels like there's a connection to, like, this old manga style, like, back with, what was it? Fist of the North Star, which was early 80s. And even modern techniques, and the fact that, like, he just looks at fashion magazines and, like... One of the things I love is the fact that I've actually watched him like just draw stuff, and watching him draw stuff, the way he does things, the techniques he uses and whatnot, and how he compiles everything together in a scene is just quite impressive. And the fact that you can really use a bunch of his sources of the story, because there's just so many different parts and so many different techniques he used throughout each story, how he has different main characters, what drove them, what motivated them, the powers, how they kind of influence or kind of handle the characters even. And then he's really evolved since then to create bigger stories like Part 7, which is a fantastic story, and like every character in that has an amazing story of their own. Yes.
Yes.
Got anything to say about Araki?
Fucking Araki, man. It's not even just the art style, just reading, watching anything he's made. It's fucking nuts. There are other series which are just as crazy for different reasons. Look at Baki, for example.
Yeah.
But there is no one who writes like Araki.
No.
There is no one who looks at a fashion magazine and goes like, "That's some." Like, main manga will look at a fashion magazine and go like, "Okay, here are some clothing designs." Araki look at a fucking my fashion magazine and go like, "That would be a cool pose for a fight." What do you do that? But and it's all the manga is all the better for it.
Yeah.
Also, the poster for Moon Knight just got revealed, and then the trailer. I forgot the trailer's supposed to come out Monday in American time, and it's Tuesday today in Australian time. Yeah. So I might just explode midstream. I hope you're aware.
That's fine. That's fine.
Like, if anything else comes, any other Marvel thing comes up, I'll be like, I'm gonna come, and it's a joke, but it's Moon Knight, so you know.
This man is actually gonna come on the stream, Jesus Christ.
Just a warning.
Honestly, I think what pushed him to be on my list even further than anything else was probably his novel, Manga in Theory and Practice. Kind of helped me
I think if most manga had a novel you'd read that, you'd be like, oh, okay, I like them a lot more now.
Yes, I would definitely. Because it gives me more insight into who they are and how they write. Which is why, like, one of the reasons I love Oda so much, which I'll talk about later on more, is his SBSs. Because no one else does SBSs like Oda. How he jokes, how he comments, how he kind of plays with his fans.
Didn't he make a fucking an fucking I got the words right. No, I didn't. Like Yamato's side boob as a character.
Yeah.
What the fuck? What? Absolute Matt. Like, I look at him. I look at his work. I see. Sorry, this is the wrong topic.
Mm.
Iraqi time.
Yeah, it's a rock time.
It's odorous.
I mean, Araki's up there. He's a man. Writes all these different things. Like, I'll even find it hard to like rank all the JoJos and rank all the parts because like all of them are so different.
Josuke?
Huh?
Isn't his favorite JoJo Josuke?
Yeah.
The first one.
Yeah, the first Josuke is his favorite JoJo, which always made me think about it because I'm like, really? That's his favorite? That's my least favorite.
I mean, we like Josuke, but come on, like.
Yeah, we don't hate Josuke, but like out of all the other ones, he is my least favorite. But that's more just because like at least with Jonathan, who could have been last, Jonathan has Dio, and because of that relationship, I think it's a little bit more heightened, especially considering you're really following Jonathan, whereas in part 4 you're more following Koichi.
True.
I mean, that's just how it goes. I would always assume like his favorite JoJo was Jotaro because that one was the one he was most excited to draw, and like that was his ideal picture of what a hero should be.
You'd think, wouldn't you?
Yeah, that's what you would think, but no. Especially considering as well that Jotaro is in the most parts.
Well, maybe it's because Jotaro is just most popular.
Mm.
And the editor's like, you should put Jotaro in there more.
No, put Jonathan. No, put
sure. Well, they did, didn't they? They put Jonathan back in part 3. Well,
and now we're getting JoJo Lands, which
I like the theory that Star Platinum is just Jonathan.
Interesting.
I don't know. It doesn't make fucking sense, but like in the early expressions of Star Platinum earlier in the manga, it looks quite different to what it does now.
Yeah.
Almost comparable to Jonathan Joso.
Oh.
Araki. What is there else to say about Araki?
He's a madman. I'm glad like he changed schedules to like monthly, honestly. Although like don't get me wrong, I would love for it to be weekly and to read it, but like obviously he's getting up there in age. He is one of the more.
How
older
is he getting? Look at him. Like,
yeah.
There is no.
That.
He's just taking holidays.
You've got.
He's a vampire.
You do have an amazing point. He is a vampire. He is a real vampire because he's one of the oldest mangaka, like who's very prominent. But still, he looks so young and vibrant.
He is a JoJo's character.
He is a JoJo's character. He put on that stone mask. JoJo's isn't a fake story. JoJo's is his life as a vampire, witnessing all this.
Literally.
Anyway, I'll move on. To a person of great happiness. Despite the series and themes and whatnot that he writes about. Janji Ito. I feel like all mangaka, like his name is probably one of the more prominent ones and easiest to remember, just because he doesn't have. He's more like an author of books, right? Where he just writes a book and that's his story, or he just writes a bunch of short stories and compiles them in a book. But you wouldn't go by the name of this book or the thing. You would say Janji Ito because of the fact that he just has a wide variety of books. Most prominently, his three biggest ones would be Tomoe, Uzumaki, and Gyo. Those are his most known ones, his most prominent ones. But he has written other ones. He wrote one about Rasputin. That was a funny one. He wrote one about a dissolving classroom. He's written like different iterations of other horror manga like Frankenstein or even No Longer Human, which is a famous Japanese book. Which I have those two.
Bro,
manga.
I picked up the book. I went to the mix recently. Picked up No Longer Human. I flipped to a random page, just saw someone sucking someone's tit. I'm like, okay, that's enough. I was curious, and then it was an interesting find by me. It's interesting. It's not no longer human. It's not Gyo. It's just, or not Uzumaki. It's Junji Ito's Uzumaki. Junji Ito's Gyo. Junji Ito's no. It's not just that story. It's him.
Yeah.
It's his story.
I mean, he even has one that he's a part of, being Junji Ito's Cat Diaries. Or Cat Diaries.
Oh, that sounds right.
Yeah, he wrote like a horror manga about his own cats. Like, he has 2 cats. I think one's Yon, and I forget the other one's name. But he wrote a horror manga about his cats and just like such the normal things that like goes on in his life, and like the way he draws it is very expressionist, has such expression and just a little bit of a realism alongside the expression, and just kind of just formed this crazy randomness. And a lot of his horror isn't really scary by just looking at it. It's more fearful in terms of the concepts he puts forward and what he tells and the things that he mentions, or even when he does other things. Because like with Frankenstein, that one was different because he took Mary Shelley's kind of story and ideas and then kind of twisted the ending to suit his style a bit better, and he like enhanced it with itself so it could really feel like this was a combination of 2 different people working on something, despite Mary Shelley obviously being dead for whatever, like couple hundred years or whatever. I don't remember when Mary Shelley was alive. I don't remember
I don't even know the name of whoever wrote Frankenstein.
It's Mary Shelley, I know that.
It's not Frankenstein, it's Frankenstein's author.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah. But either way, a lot of his works I do love, and I do love collecting his works. I do have a little collection. I have a lot more of his prominent books, and I think he's done a lot of really good like shorter series. Like I've read a couple, like Venus in the Blind Spot, which is the more like spacey one. Wait, no, was that? Yeah, and like other ones like Censor, where it's like this person's being like stalked or whatever, and just like the way he brings about these concepts, and his art style really impacts that as well. I wouldn't say it's an art style that's prominent. Like you look at it and goes like that's Janji Ito, but it's really good either way. Despite that,
I think what I'm amazed by Junji Ito is like Araki is he creates shonen manga, right? For the most part, shonen manga. He's in that, he bends the genre. I feel like Junji Ito is able to create his own genre within horror. There's horror and then there's Junji Ito's horror.
Yeah.
If you're able to, if your name is like a horror, a genre in and of itself, right? That's more of an achievement than even your own works.
I mean, this man made the idea of a spiral scary.
Uzumaki.
Yeah, exactly. The things that he does and the way he twists things, like, it is quite impressive even. Just the swirl, that's it. That's the whole concept, is literally just the swirl that kind of destroys everything and just gets sucked in or whatever. It's just a swirl. It's just that's it. That's the whole thing. It's a swirl. But he makes it so scary and just brings out so many different aspects to create his stories. And I love watching interviews with him in it because he's just the happiest man. He's just the happiest man I've ever seen. He's such a happy dude. And then you see people who work on happy shit, and they're just the saddest people.
What's his name? Miyazaki. I forget his name. But the guy who makes Ghibli films.
Yeah.
Depressed shit. I'm laughing only because Junji Ito in his interviews is like meow meow, and then Miyazaki's like, sometimes I think about how this world isn't worth it anymore. And he makes Spirited Away and Totoro.
Yeah.
I find that amusing. Not particularly saying that's what makes his manga good, or how that's what changes their worth as creators. No. I just find that funny.
Yeah. I just love the idea of this man who works on horror manga, and he's one of the biggest names in his genre, and he's just the happiest dude you just see. He's just so happy, and I just love it. I love it so much. I don't know why. It's just so funny to me, and it's just I think it helps me understand him a bit more, and kind of like when he was creating all these series, it's just like you can think about bad stuff and not just be like a horrible person as well. Like you can be as happy as you want and still think about these things. And like just because you're happy doesn't mean like you're the best person ever or whatnot. And I kind of enjoyed that fact about him, how he was able to create all these amazing stories and even just take other people's works and kind of put his own essence into it. And I think that's a real mark of a great author. Even it's like whenever I see like someone else trying to like write in Oda's style or try and like write a little short bit about Oda or chapters or redo it feels like they're just copying, and at times it's not the greatest thing, but it can be brought, but I can still really enjoy it. But with Janji Ito, it really does feel like his essence and the way he talks and the way he writes kind of really fits into it, where like you could literally think that Frankenstein was written by Janji Ito. Obviously it's too famous that you would probably not think that, but you get my point.
Yeah.
Either way, next up, Kentaro Miura, the creator of Berserk. The only person on this list, to my knowledge, and I assume, because I don't think any of these other ones are, he's the only one who died, and he died very recently. And this, even if he didn't die or not, he would still be here no matter what, because this is a man who has written one of the most argued best manga ever series. Because I feel like the competition is very just like it's either One Piece or it's Berserk. Depends on the kind of person you are, but you can still love them both. That doesn't matter. But his work is something very different, very unique, and he kind of set the stage for what I feel dark fantasy is that you never really see anywhere else. Like he kind of created that dark fantasy genre. It really felt like, because other stories that are fantasy or have dark elements in it don't push it as much as he does. And even with that, and no matter what the characters go through, or even just like how he even just takes simple ideas, or even just character design, the darkness, the way that Guts is, the little things like the quiet moments are what kind of pushes the story beyond moments. Because even in my own life, it's just so simple to understand that there will always be a better day. And I think those times in the story really hit hard. You're not really reading this series because it has stellar fights or whatever. You're reading this more for the characters and world that they put in, and to see them struggle and to kind of see how they cope in this dark, gloomy world that they've been put in. And I just love all the concepts and ideas that have been brought forward by Kentaro Miura. And we were honestly robbed of him too soon. And it's very sad that he's gone. But even just to see like how people treated him and everyone during that time was something it kind of gave me hope, because it's like there was finally a time where I could actually look at the fandom and it just like, fuck, everyone's nice. No one's being a dickhead like they usually are, because everyone could respect that this man was someone great. And it's like you could never see a bad comment, because if you had nothing to say because you didn't know who this person was, then they didn't say anything about it. They knew and respected that this man had created something special to thousands, millions, whatever you want to say. I assume millions.
Yeah, millions.
Yeah. And during that time, and even now, like, you still see things and just like, oh, and now I cry at Guts' theme, because not only does the series and story get to me, being one of my favorite series of all time, but I know that there will not be any more work done by Kentaro Miura. Miura also hurts, not because he finished, but when you leave something undone, it's kind of just like, it leaves that sore little patch on you, but you have to just accept it and think about the story that he's written and those ideas he's brought forth, because no matter what, even if someone dies, there will always be a better day. And that's kind of like, he kind of even just set up his own death within his story, kind of, that can make you as a person feel a little bit better that you know you lost this person. And obviously, like, I don't assume anyone really knows this person personally, but you really get a feel for him and the story he's written just from the series alone. What have you got to say?
About Kentaro Miura, very little.
You've read a bit.
I've read quite a bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Kentaro Miura. I don't know, man.
You don't know?
No, I don't. I have no idea what to say about Kentaro Miura. Nothing that you haven't already said that is.
I mean, I didn't really touch on like the characters that too much. I touched on Guts the most, but even just how like other characters
liked what you
interact.
Talking about always that, because Berserk, what he's written is not a nihilistic series about the hopelessness of what exists. It's persevering through it and knowing that, and hoping that there is something. The sun will always rise again. Even if the night is dark, as dark as it gets, the morning is still around the corner. I really like those themes and what is written.
Even just watching the way that Guts copes with things in his childhood and whatnot, like the only coping mechanism he has is his sword, and that sword is such a big part of the story. And the way he hugs and holds it, even in his quiet moments, kind of adds to that level of that has been his only kind of coping mechanism for his entire life. So when you see him let someone else in, it adds to that level of he trusts this person. You can understand it, and that's one thing that I love about his work. That's really shown me. So you don't need text bubbles. You don't need to explain it, because the art tells you the imagery has so much layers to it that you can just go through, and even just upon rereading the series, it adds so much more to everything that has transpired. And even just like character designs, the way that Griffin is all white, he's delicate, he's graceful compared to Guts, who's literally the opposite of all that. The opposite, but they kind of require each other in this crazy world. And even to see how their relationship kind of gets destroyed, and the personalities that are brought out from their own pasts and future presents and futures and whatnot. Nah. Anyway, I should move on from Kentaro Miura.
I was gonna talk about the work that Kentaro Miura has created has been able to influence so much in mostly Japanese, but mostly Japanese culture, but many other stories and cultures you'll see today. There was a lot of Berserk influence in Castlevania, for example. What's his name? Fuck, what is his name? Fucking Yuki Tabata. Jesus Christ, just turn around and look. Right, heavily inspired off Berserk.
Yeah.
Fucking William Vangeance, even.
It kind of feels like
the effect of his work really is
this
felt
is the East.
to this day.
It really does feel like that. This is the East kind of Lord of the Rings level kind of shit.
Oh yeah.
You get that? Because the way people talk about Kentaro Miura is definitely the same way, like, I feel like people talk about Tolkien and his work and writings. They kind of set the stage for what fantasy can be and is. But also, obviously, these two people are very different. Whatever. I'm going to move on to Takeshi Obata and Sugumi Oba, who are the creators of Death Note, Platinum End, which the anime is coming out now, or it's finished. I'm not sure. It's coming out now, isn't it?
I'm not watching anime.
I think it might be finished. I don't think so, but it's coming out now. Let's just go with that. And of course, the series and reason why these two men are here, for me at least, is Bakuman. Now, a lot of people know what Death Note is. I feel like that's, in terms of being an anime fan, I feel like a lot of people will know of Death Note, or otherwise they're not an anime fan. Or otherwise they've seen it, whatever. Because it's definitely one of those animes, like, it's hard not to get past. And I feel like a lot of people have seen Death Note and so many different crazes about it. And it definitely is, I think, their most prominent work. But it's not their only work, because as a team, like I said with Food Wars, the creators, the way they elevate a story just by working together and really creating a story kind of really blends well together. And Bakuman, out of all of that, fits this trope so well, because the story itself is about two guys trying to create a manga, and is the only real manga that shows you more about how the manga industry works. The only other one I can really think about is Nozuki, and that's very different.
Oh, it's very different.
It's very different. This one is more about the actual world of manga and mangakas that they go and all the different tropes and things that people go through, the different kinds of people you will meet, friends, whatever. You can be an assistant even though you're trying to get your own series. Whereas Nozuki is a little bit more about the romance and nonsense that occurs, I guess. Yeah. But either way, sometimes it does make me think, because the author writes a lot. Oba, I think, is Oba. Yeah, Oba. Yeah, Oba is. Yeah, Oba is the story, and he does write a lot, and all of his stories can be long. Like, if you see Death Note, even, it can be long as well. But even just the art's amazing, everything about it, blah 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 blah. I don't know what else to say. I'm losing my mind. Just because they've done. I think this is one of the other ones where it's very different to Food Wars, because this is a team who has successfully worked on multiple series that are at least either one of the biggest series that is known in the community, or even though they've seen as niche or not as prominent because the anime wasn't as good and a lot of people get into manga through anime. Or even just their new series like Platinum of the End. Like, you hear their names together now and you see them writing a series and it's like, you know that's going to be something. You know that's not just going to flop around. Or as well as Takeshi even worked on a different he worked I forget yeah, he did the art for a different manga, being Hikaru no Go, which is of course about shogi, I think. I keep forgetting. But either way, the art in all his series is impressive. It does feel a lot immersed in the real world and has a lot more realistic elements into it, but also it's on that line of, yeah, it's a shonen. And as you're reading, you can tell it's a shonen. And the creativity and story and drama, especially the drama, I love drama series, and there can be a lot of drama found in their series. And Bakuman is just something so special to me because I love the series so goddamn much. And every time I read it, it just kind of makes me feel inspired to draw. No other manga really makes me feel that way, but Bakuman. And that makes me happy that I can find a series, I can pick it up, and I know if I'm going to read this, I'm going to draw it as soon as I stop reading any part of it.
Right, fair enough.
I, Food Wars, it makes me hungry, but I love the series and whatnot, and it makes me want to work harder. This series, I know I'm gonna start drawing as soon as I put it down. Good night, Pum Pum. I cry if I put that shit down. JoJo's, I don't know how to feel because it's a bizarre adventure. Berserk, I will most likely cry now if I reread it, but that's because of other reasons. Vagabond, I'll be mystified by the fucking art style. What happened? Janji Ito, I don't know how to feel about Janji Ito. I'll just enjoy the series and be like, alright, where's my next book?
Fair enough.
I don't know. Like, you've read a bit of their works, but you never finished any of their works.
No, I haven't. I haven't finished a lot of things, to be fair.
But, like, you pick these things up, and it's like, you've seen how much they write in it. How much dialogue and text there are. But the art is still amazing no matter what. It's always... But I love this series, and of course, out of all the mangaka, even on this list regardless, is I have, and I own, two of their completed series being Death Note and Bakuman, which kind of makes me happy to know that, like, oh shit. And when you realize that, like, these other people work on something, it's like, huh, I never noticed. And it's like, it gets you more interested in the way that they do things and the way they create. Because if they can create two things that you really like, it's like, what else are they gonna do? What else can you think about? Where did these people come from? How did they write before this? It gets me more interested in the person who's writing it itself over than the story sometimes. But either way, moving on.
If they do more than one, yeah, absolutely. Because sometimes some of the manga, even I have a mine.
Yeah.
Is just one thing. And I feel like what they do with their work is something that really connects to me. But ones that have multiple there, I can really tell what the author is trying to accomplish much better.
Yeah.
Which is definitely the case with for you with I don't know their names. Takeshi Oba and the other one.
Takeshi Obata and Sugumi Oba.
Yeah, I mixed them both up.
Yeah. I mean, their initials are both T.O., which is, even I got confused at the beginning. But anyway, I want to move on to someone very special, who of course has made 2 series, and actually more than 2 series as well that I love, and that's Naoki Urasawa.
That's Naoki Urasawa?
Huh?
I didn't even know who that one in the middle was. Is this Naoki Urasawa?
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah.
Poggers, let's go.
The creator of Monster, Pluto, 20th Century Boys, and Billy Bat. Those are his most prominent works. I think he's done a couple other ones, including a short little bit about 21st Century Boys.
Yeah.
What to say about this man? He just creates so much good work. So many good work. I'm sad that I honestly don't own any of his work. Because obviously manga can be expensive, and it's like, I want it all. But I always fear starting something new when I have other things to finish on my shelf. But I think the most prominent ones for me in this are probably Monster, obviously you know, and 20th Century Boys. Pluto, not as strong for me. I still enjoyed it. Billy Bat, again, I enjoyed it, not as strong. But 20th Century Boys, the way they use the characters, like the primary antagonist friend, kind of amazing. Or even just the way and thought processes of just the characters in Monster, and even just the setting of how he brings like our real world setting to play into the story, and uses the history and kind of things to create something kind of great, expressive. His art style is great. Well, I feel like he has a very unique art style, because of course he's not writing a shonen, Because like there's sometimes when you're reading a shonen, like Bakuman, let's say, or even Death Note, you go into the pages and like it's set in this real world aesthetic, but it has that little bit of like cartoony aspect to the way the characters are drawn. But of course, in Urasawa's work, it's a lot more solid. It's a lot more built, and this is someone who I love because he's done so much. And you see him work, and you see the way he works. It's impressive just to know that this man could create something great. And obviously, like, I love Monster the most out of all of them. But it's like, damn, man, give this man more credit. People don't know more about this man, because most people watch fucking anime, and only Monster has an anime, and that's not even a prominent anime.
Yeah, no one
give this man more credit.
Gives enough attention to Monster or any of Urasawa's works. It's really unfortunate.
Yeah, because I would say he's right up there as like one of the best mangaka, but it always felt like to me like no one ever really talks about it, no one ever really sees his work. But it's like I want you all to see him. He's great. Everything he does is amazing. Trust me. Especially if you like seinen shit. Fuck, man. He is my biggest inspiration to write. To any of my seinen series that I've ever, like, thought about, or, like, written, or, like, brought up concepts for different seinen. It's him. He is the reason. When I think about seinen, I think about this man. There's other things in the back of my head, of course, like Black Lagoon. When it comes to seinen, but as soon as I go to seinen, I try and think about how I'm gonna create, how I'll create the story, how I'll do this, and most of the time I get inspired by Urasawa to do any of that shit. Like this is peak for me as this man. You see him right there? Yep, that's the man I look at for seinen, because usually when I try and write a seinen, I try and at least branch into some sort of realism, like he does.
Yeah.
Of course, you can have your own little twist to it.
That's what can help with that real sense of
It's not like I'm going down the Berserk path where it's just creating your own world and being as dark as shit. Yeah. So like when I think about cop series, because I grew up watching crime shows with my mother. Like I know what I've learned from all those shows and the way that all these shows kind of work. But then I bring into like a manga style. I always think about the way he wrote his story, and even just Monster, and like how it's not really detectives in it. And of course you have this one person who's partially being the most simplistic detective just by traveling, adventuring, gaining skills and whatnot. And despite being the main character, at times you realize, is he really the main character? Because you don't really spend much time with him. You get more second-hand stories about him from other people's perspectives, and within short times you get a real understanding for those characters that he brings into the story. I remember you watching the series and going, Data's not making it.
No, that's my subversion of expectations. That character should not have lived. That's like the perfect character to kill the main character's like heart. Right? You've already put him through the ringer, put him through more. Get him attached to a young kid who seems hopeful in the world, who's also been through his own shit. Right? You get him, and like, I'm gonna make sure this kid, I'm gonna save his life more than any doctor could. I'm going to make sure he lives his life. And then and then the main villain would kill him, and you're like, oh, well, it's fucking shit. And then he has to go through like a regression, and then like come back and prove that try and continue to prove that humanity is worth fighting for. But no, he just never died.
Yeah.
I was just waiting patiently for this kid to just die. He's in the final episode with a rat, just doing fuck all.
You've also started 20th Century Boys.
Yeah.
How have you been enjoying it?
I was not that gripped on it by the first 20 or so chapters. And then that time skip happened. We got with that character from Vietnam. Well, not from Vietnam. He was in Vietnam. Yeah. And now the story's really been ramping up a lot more. And now there's a fucking giant robot.
Yeah.
And we're not, and it's got like fucking 200 chapters left. So I'm very curious, very excited for what comes next.
Yeah, and that's another thing with his work as well that not a lot of other mangaka really get to do. It's like he finishes his stories on his own note, and like his endings are kind of just satisfyingly like there are other stories where it's like it might not get an ending because either the series is getting cut or no, they can get their series done, they can get it complete, and a lot of these people on my list are those kind of people, which honestly minus the first one we talked about, Food Wars, because that was cut. But a lot of these people on my list is like they're the people that they work for. They will trust them to just be like, finish your story, finish it. You tell us when it's done because we trust you. And all these people have just so much experience in the way that they do shit and write and whatnot, and go ba 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 ba. Yeah. Anyway, now here comes the rant.
Let's go.
Eiichiro Oda. He is my god. He is Goda. If you've never heard Goda, you're not a true fan. I really don't know where to start with Oda. Because out of anyone on this list, Oda will always be number one for me. Because One Piece is just that one series for me, especially. That just feels so perfect. Like, it gets me happy, it makes me happy, it makes me sad. I've cried while reading the series. Like, one of the, like, spoilers, I'm sorry, blah blah blah, halfway through the series. Ace dies, and one of the biggest things for me when reading that is the fact that I can understand and empathize with how Luffy might be feeling, and seeing how Luffy would be in pain. I really understand that on an emotional level, and it makes me horribly sad because not only was like Ace my favorite character in the series, but I understand that feeling of if you lose someone very valuable to you, someone you look up to, because I have that in my own life. I have an older sibling, and if anything happened to them, I could understand how Luffy is feeling. And the age gap between Ace and Luffy is the same as my own with my brother. So just like having that, like even just being able to connect with Luffy on that level, despite Luffy being just the perfect protagonist for me, honestly, I would argue best protagonist of all time. But obviously, people deserve their own opinions. I'm not gonna put anyone down, but for me, at least, I love Luffy. I love all the Straw Hats. I love everything about that. And especially now, I was thinking about it. I was really thinking about this, Alex. Ever since Dressrosa, the antagonists have just stepped up.
Yeah.
We got Doflamingo, arguably the best antagonist in the series. Then you get partially Big Mom, who is the one I'm most terrified about. I'm terrified of Big Mom. If you put me in front of any of the Yonko, I am most afraid of Big Mom.
Yeah, because at least if you submit to Kaido, he'll be like, wonderful, eat this fucking fruit and do something.
Exactly. Like Kaido would be like, he'll be quite chilled and just like, drink with me, yeah. Or even Blackbeard, I'm like, kill me, yeah, sure. Big Mom, that's a story I don't want to get into.
Zooey Mama.
Zooey Mama.
Hello, welcome.
To the
He's
mother.
here. Oh, he lives. Welcome, Caleb. He made it.
I was about to say I am here, but then I realized I'd be quoting a shit show. Anyway, hello.
Just say I'm here.
Yes, I'm here. That's a better series.
What series is that?
Wow.
Real life?
Sure.
Okay.
We're on One Piece right now on my list.
I see.
I used to like, well, still do, to be honest. I don't like how Oda's female character designs are always just the hourglass figure.
Yeah.
But you talked about SBS before as like really to understand what the author's intent was.
Mm.
He said like he had someone ask him, "How do I draw a woman?" And he's like, "Easy. Draw an hourglass. Many people won't like you for it, but stick to it." And I'm like, okay, respect.
It's even just that. It's like, as much as people like, I think that's one of the most jarring things about Oda I've seen, that people look at the art style and they don't really connect with it or vibe with it. They think it's silly or stupid. But honestly, it adds so much more because no one does expressions like Oda. You look at their face and you know exactly what they're feeling.
Yeah.
Because it's over the top and it really works and to create this beautiful story about world building, how things connect to different shit, and how, like me, because I'm partially a One Piece theorist. Shut up, Alex. Seeing all these different things and how they interconnect into the world and the story and whatnot, how different people and characters and how you can fall in love, how no one else really uses a flashback like Oda does. And Oda can understand that. He doesn't need Luffy constantly being in the story for the story to maintain itself. In one of the flaws I always felt like with Dragon Ball was he kept putting Goku in despite there being other characters to focus on. Even if it was just Goku healing up, we didn't really need to see this that much and keep going back to him. But Oda doesn't do this with Luffy. He trusts the audience to understand what's happening, that you can focus on other things, on other characters, and chase after the different goals. And of course, no one really looks at One Piece and goes, I'm watching this for the fights. And I try and stay the fuck away from all power scales, because go fuck themselves. I really do not like One Piece power scales, because I do not give a shit. Because it's a lot in this world that is dependent, especially on what powers or abilities you have. How can you take this into consequence? What does this add to the fight? What does this subtract to the fight? I don't really go look at them and think like, oh, he's stronger. I don't really give a shit that much. I care more about the story, what's being written, the journey, the adventure, and it kind of, when you really look at the series, it makes sense why he was able to survive longer than Naruto, longer than Bleach, because those two series weren't an adventure. You were practically always in the same kind of place or something similar to that place. It never really felt like there was a freedom to go explore something greater, and no one else has made an adventurous story of freedom, downfall, betrayal, politics like Oda does. And I love him for it.
In Naruto's defense, it didn't really plan that far ahead.
Yeah, obviously.
But fair enough.
Oda honestly planned for 100 chapters. And then he got more popular.
But obviously, like, he's got a plan now. So it's like,
somewhat.
when they finish an arc or whatever, he knows where it's going to go from there.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, other places, Dragon Ball has no clue.
Dragon Ball
was going to stop at Z, and then they're like, oh, we're going to make more, okay. And then they have to incorporate new shit, right? Like, Beerus never existed. Oh, wait, now we've got to incorporate these gods of destruction, but why have we never heard of them before? Well, you know, because that's what happens with these stories.
Yeah.
I will admit that, you know, because you know how I aspire to one day write shit. I think Oda has maybe had the greatest impact simply because I refuse to write something unless I know where it's going to end.
Yeah.
I refuse to start a series unless I know every single thing that will ever happen, because I don't want to be stuck in the point of, oh well, you know, I didn't know this was going to be popular. Oh no, now I have to make shit up. No, I want to know everything that's ever going to happen, and I need that planned. And admittedly, it does annoy me in series when they obviously don't know where things is where it's going to go, because you know, and sometimes it's not their fault, but you know,
even just having a rough idea about what's gonna happen, or just like some points that this needs to occur, You don't need to write the full thing out. Like usually when I write a story, I just do like little summary plots about this is what's going to occur in it, and then later on I'll think about when I'm like in this thing, like, all right, this can connect to that, this can do this can add to that, and even in One Piece, I just love the fact that throwaway lines in the series can become something bigger later on, or even the fact that characters come back in this story like no other series, and every character is useful. That's one of the biggest things for me. When you have a main cast, even if it's just 10 people, everyone is fucking useful. And Oda made a point to show this off about how even the most human characters, because most of them are monsters, can be useful, and created a whole story arc about that, being Usopp.
Big man.
But, like, Alex, you're up to date with One Piece, and you see in what's happening now, and every single character who of the Straw Hat Pirates have been doing shit. They are useful to what is occurring. It's not just relying on one person to do everything. That is one aspect that I love about this series that not a lot of other shonen kind of do, is that he's able to focus on all these characters, and even beyond his own crew, other characters in the background are still adding to the story, adding to the fights, or adding to what's going on. Whereas in Naruto, you look at Tenten and you think, what the fuck has she done?
I needed filler to make Tintin have a bit more.
Yeah. Alex, got anything more to say about One Piece? Or shall we move on?
Not much more that you haven't said already, no.
No. And if you want me to talk more about One Piece, I will be glad to. But I could talk forever about One Piece, so that's not a good idea. Alex, your turn.
I have turns?
Yes, it's your turn.
We rolled for initiative.
Ah! Not bad. No, very good, very good. Okay.
You see the pictures.
Now, first one I have here, I've not finished Gintama. I'm only on season 3. I haven't really read any Gintama yet. I've still started to put Hideaki Surachi in here.
Honestly, I'm thankful you have, because he was like my 10th person.
Hideaki Surachi, I think that's how I say his name. If not, tough shit, he's not watching. Hideaki Surachi is the mangaka of Gintama. Through multiple of his jokes, he's able to self-insert himself as a stupid, dumb gorilla mangaka. And I find that amazing. I'm very much a fan of the way he is able to... Most of the chapters that he'd write would be one-off kind of... Because he's got a comedy series, right? I love series that use comedy to develop characters. It's what filler arcs try to do. They're stupid filler comedy arcs. Because it's not going to be serious. And then you can develop characters through that. Of course, they're not canon, but Gintama is.
Yeah.
So you have you've got these characters go through the dumbest fucking things on the fucking planet, right? And that somehow builds enough character for you to go to those serious small arcs of maybe span even 5 chapters, which is some of the best drama you'll ever fucking see.
Yeah.
Chapters and episodes, same shit, different medium. The series that he's created, Gintama, serves itself well to bullshit, because the main character is a samurai, and now aliens have decided to invade that planet, and the samurai are like, why the fuck are you here? Get the fuck out. And they have a war, and now there's the aftermath where everyone's like, well, that was fucking fun. And now there are just aliens in the Edo period, Japan.
Yep.
And that's the main premise. You've got a fucking war veteran just living with an alien in his closet, who's one of the best characters,
and they just trainee samurai, and
they just do bullshit.
Yeah,
they're friends with the people who hate the aliens, despite Kagura being right there, and Elizabeth. But whatever. You've got the Shinsengumi, which are anti-terrorists, and they're friends with both of them.
Yeah.
I like the large cast he's been able to create and able to pick and choose exactly what characters need for certain arcs. And because of the way he's written these bits of comedy, any character could appear at any moment to how he sees fit, which means he can write whatever story he wants inside his own world.
Again,
Which lasted 700 fucking chapters.
Again, I'm just telling you right now. One of my favorite parts of the whole series is when Gintoki supposedly had sex with every female character and a dude, and then the climax of that. I love that spit so much.
Bro, he's fucking. It's a massive prank to try and get him to stop drinking, because they get so drunk and they decide to, okay, he's an idiot while he's drunk. Let's pretend he fucked us all, and now that we're all going to become his wives because of that. And it's so ridiculous that you believe it for 2 whole episodes. Right? Them and a man. He's fucked a man too. And now they're all like, you've got to make up for it. You've got to spend the rest of your life with us. So he has to try and accommodate for all of them, and they put him through hell. And once it finally revealed, like, oh no, it was just all a big prank, so you should stop drinking. He's like, I'll never drink again. And the man was like, what are you doing? What we did was real. So he drinks his problems away. Good stuff. Great arc.
I love that arc so much. It's one of my favorites.
This is why I like Hideo Surachi.
I mean, I can't really add too much to what you've said, because you kind of explained what makes him kind of great. It's just the way, and even just like later on in the series, you could have more characters and more unique interactions with other characters being a prominent role. Like obviously you have the whole like black, what was it called? I forget the area, but like the hostess, the whatever.
Ooh, what's it called?
I forget what it's called.
That place.
Basically the
underground.
Yeah, the underground of this world. Come in at such a late point where a lot of characters have already been developed, and then characters later on will be developed even further. And you can add more characters to it, and even just like the different ways that characters outside of the main cast develop, even just characters who like appeared kind of.
We had a solid five episodes run of just Katsura.
Yeah.
It was like Katsura a month or something. Good stuff.
And because it is a comedy series, I love the fact that this comedy series was able to push itself further compared to most other comedy series in its kind of genre, because a lot of those are more childish and silly, while this is clearly even stupider, but still hilarious. The comedy that I love. Stupid and amazing. At the same time.
The manga does well is its self-awareness.
Yeah.
It's like, but we're only 300 chapters. What are we doing now? Why is it? Like they'll actively talk about.
They had a Dragon Ball. They had a Dragon.
They had the time skip in the
anime. They had a Dragon Ball time skip.
And then the fucking Gintoki is now Yamcha. Or some shit. Anyway. Oh yeah, and then there was also he needed to find a non-smoke-free zone.
Yeah.
So he needed to find a place to smoke. So he goes to different planets, and they're like, no. So then he goes and finds the Dragon Balls to wish for a fucking cigarette. Because no one will fucking give him one. It's the greatest shit. And he finds the sticky balls or something. And he has to fight fucking Breezer.
Yeah, Breezer.
I like the series.
Cell is also a character in it, but I think it's a different name.
Cello.
Yeah, Cello. That's it.
I like that the series is painfully self-aware as a manga, and the anime is able to adapt that fucking beautifully.
One of the chapters I really liked is the mangaka in prison, and like Gintoki kind of helps him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
I remember that.
With writing a manga, it's like, you need panty shots!
That's all I want to say about Hideo Surachi. His comedy transcends even his own the pages that he writes. Next is Giga Akatami, writer of Jujutsu Kaisen and artist.
The big man.
Now, I hate like in like current media, how every time there's like a small leak in a trailer or like some photo set, every fucking interviewer, every fucking talk show host will go and pry into the actors or the creators and go like, explain that for me, please. And they're genuinely just trying to spoil their audience just for content, right? And they don't do it a week before release because that's just genuine spoilers.
Yeah.
So they're like, okay, a week before we'll die it down. That's their limit, right? If they're going to try and actively spoil a film for themselves and the audience and try and put these actors through the ringer for fucking what? I hate that, right? Giga Akatami in an interview just spoiled the entirety of Jujutsu Kaisen. That they had to censor it so they could release it. They couldn't say most of the shit he said there, and he spoiled everyone in that room. What the fuck was that about? Like, Oda's like, I guess you'll find out next volume. This kid's like, I'll tell you right now, don't you worry.
Yeah. Well, he's a younger mangaka.
Yeah, he's very new to the medium. I like the another reason I put him on my list is visuals of his manga. It's not particularly
Amazing.
Articulate like you would see in
all of the ones I literally had on my list.
Like Boichi's or your Muratas.
Yeah.
But the flow of the punches, the way that the scene move, you can easily see the scene flow, the way each of the punches feel like a punch. It's not just some masterpiece. You can actually see all the lines are there for the purpose, not just there to look pretty. I really like the way the manga is able to do those scenes.
Yeah.
And those expressions. Not through... I know he can draw well.
Maybe
But it is the same with Oda. He has a particular art style.
Yeah.
And when he draws anything outside of that art style, people are like, the fuck, he can draw? Yeah, he can draw. It's a choice.
Same with Akira Toriyama, honestly. The man can actually draw. It's just I'm so used to seeing that one particular art style that I forget about that shit. The man can draw.
Yeah, exactly.
Because iconic, that's what people expect to see when they read Dragon Ball or anything made by him.
Yeah.
So he has to do that, otherwise people aren't going to recognize it as his work unless they see his name on it.
Yeah, of course.
And that's that kind of that style that he does with his action manga. And I don't know why him spoiling everyone in that room I just kind of love is why I put him there.
He's a mangaka I can get behind.
He's cosplaying one of his own characters in this interview to not show his face.
Yeah.
It's great.
I think one of the biggest things with the series, for me at least, because of course it is a relatively newer series, but already I feel like he's partially cemented himself as such a great mangaka. Because even now, like, I don't get excited for much in terms of new chapters. I get excited for One Piece, and probably Jujutsu Kaisen the most. Those two series the most. I get.
Oh, I haven't even read the newest chapter yet. Fuck.
Oh, you fool. But of course, like, out of a lot of the newer series, he probably has the shittest art style. To be honest.
Shittest art quality, not
art
style.
Quality, yeah.
Style is a completely different thing. It's why I don't talk shit about Hunter Hunters too much, because it is also part of the style he does. Yeah. I don't also talk shit because he wants to do it himself. It's his... Yeah. He's a perfectionist, so he does all the line work like an idiot. It's what assistants are for. That's what I'll talk shit about. Yeah. And so what he's created is exactly what's intended. There's not really a downgrade per se. It's just what he does. It's what Giga Akatami. This is what he intends to do. There's nothing too shit about it. It's just his style. It could if you're shit at hearts, you'll not be in the medium unless you're fucking one for some reason.
Oh, I mean, you could write light novels.
You could write light novels, yeah. So if you're gonna draw manga, you need to understand how characters flow and how the anatomy works and how you want to do. This is something that Togashi and Akutami do understand.
Yeah.
And so this is what they do. I like Baki's art style most. I maybe should have put him on there because he understands anatomy so fucking much. That's why he does. Look like that.
I mean,
because
most
he
of them
understands exactly the possible limit that they could move and could be, and that's beautiful. This is not about Baki's manga. This is about... Now it's Makoto Yukimura. And I like him because he tweets a bunch.
That honestly, I was gonna mention that. That's the whole reason I love him. Is just because he really feels like he's connected with his audience.
He's just a chill guy.
He's a chill guy. He tweets to everyone.
I love he makes a tweet and someone responds with, "Hey, Thorfinn got a cut here, but in the latest chapter he doesn't have a cut there. What is something happened?" And he just replies to the tweet, "Oh, oops." It's great. I love it.
Oops, you made a mistake.
I like artists that do actually make mistakes. Even Oda did that.
Yeah.
He drew a panel with someone without their beard.
Yeah.
And everyone was like, "What the fuck's that about? Did you just shave in mid-fight?" It's been fixed for volume releases, of course. I find them humorous to see like the little flaws.
Or even like one of the ones I liked, which was more of a recent-ish one. Like it was at least like I think halfway through last year. Was when he said, "What in the NSBS? I didn't release Eustace's fruit name.
Yeah.
I thought I did that ages ago."
You forgot to reveal the kid's devil fruit.
Because he thought he'd already done it. Yeah. So he's just doing this. Yes.
Everyone knew what it was, but no one knew what.
Mm.
Oops, sorry, it's the magnet fruit.
I'm
glad that his story isn't always like, "I have the power of the magnet fruit. I can make things magnetize, or I can control metal things."
Yeah. Wait, you didn't even mention what the fuck Makoto Yukimura does.
What
You never said what series he does.
Oh right, he does Vinland Saga.
Yes. Vikings. So
yeah,
maybe you can understand why he's holding an axe.
Yeah, that's why he's dressed like that. I like Vinland Saga because there's the scene in there's like the hard scene in Trio, which I consider like Vagabond,
Yeah.
Berserk, and Vinland Saga. If we look at Berserk, Vinland Saga, they're both very similar protagonists, right? But both of them went a different way.
Yeah.
And I like the route that Vinland Saga took in its pretty much its pacifist one. I really love seeing that story. Not far more. That's a lie. Not far more better. I like how different it is compared to how your other scenes would be. I really appreciate the differences there. How it can still be this dark, rough thing, but this character is trying to go through it without a massive sword.
I love the fact whenever a mangaka writes a story set in a different country, in a realistic setting, but also historical setting. So obviously this is set in like Scandinavia during the time of the Vikings, and I love to see the interpretation that they are brought into it, because it's not something that you usually see, and it's something very different to what usually occurs in manga, where it's either in Korea, China, or in Japan. It's all those Asian countries which can feel very similar. So it's always very nice to see something different. It refreshes it, but usually they also have to deliver on character, setting, goals, especially within a more historical setting. They need to think about what they're doing in terms of how they're going to create the story. And he did a great job, especially on, I keep forgetting the arc's name. Garden, whatever, what was it?
Who?
What's the great arc of Vinland Saga?
Oh, Farmland.
Yeah, Farmland, that one. Amazing. Fucking amazing how he did that.
That's gonna be animated soon. I'm just gonna die, just decease.
Yeah.
I really like how artists with personality to them. A lot of these are here because of personality. A bunch of them. Akatami, Sorachi, now Yukimura, and the one in the middle especially. That's part of the reason I put them on there. Just 'cause it is about obviously their work as well. I love all of their works.
Yeah.
But if we're talking about manga, there needs to be a bit more than just that. Some of them it needs to be more. Others no. I just like the work enough that I think I like the artist enough.
Yeah.
I want to talk next about the one above. It's Boichi. The fucking detail on this cunt.
That's a man's nose anatomy.
Next one is Boichi, Caleb.
Yeah, he's a sweat.
Yeah, I thought you said. I didn't hear that. But yeah, he's a fucking sweat. This cunt.
Like, I know the Baki author really knows anatomy, but Boichi knows anatomy as well.
Most artists do. And
No, he doesn't. He knows the molecular structure of literally every single fucking material ever.
He draws
And
every hair
bet
fiber
you-
one
no,
at a time.
I bet you if you get a magnifying glass and you use the magnifying glass, you'll see the atoms. I bet you. No, you'll see the quarks. He's probably put the quarks in there. This man, I don't understand. No one would care. If it was less detailed, no one would give a shit. But he does it anyway.
It's so good that it is unique to himself. That's what impresses me.
Despite the incredible detail, he's still a very noticeable art style.
Yeah.
It's his own god tier work.
I always love when he draws like shitter, like when he does all those stupid faces with all the characters.
That's what it's for. That's why he draws the fucking quarks and fucking hair. Right? So when he does the simple line art, it's like it's good shit.
Yeah.
Something here I also want to talk about Boichi. Obviously, he's incredible art style, incredible lot of effort into his work. He does use some other images to help with the backgrounds, but the character design, fuck. Mwah. Now, what I want to talk about is his work ethic, as if he doesn't draw a weekly shonen manga, which has fucked over multiple artists in the past. It's that working for over 4 years on Bleach has caused Tsukubo to just like
Shrivel up. Let's be honest.
8 years.
The man shriveled up.
Too many years, right?
Yeah.
The man, it took a lot off of his health.
Yeah.
Kentaro Miura had a lot, some health problems as well, probably because of his work ethic. Togashi has a lot of mental health and mental problems because of it. Oda, through his age, is taking week breaks every 3 weeks, every 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. New manga getting released have similar schedules to account for that. Kaiju number 8 has gone from the same break schedule of Oda to now just every 2 weeks. Right.
Yeah.
Naruto's Kishimoto had to postpone his honeymoon by years because of the toll of weekly manga. Right. Yeah. Boichi has created. There was a solid 3-month period where Boichi was drawing for 2 series in Weekly Shonen Jump at the same time. Why the fuck would you do that? How do you find the time to draw Dr. Stone and go like, I could do more?
Yeah.
With that quality of art, this isn't.
And then like right at the end when he was like finishing one, he finished like one of them. He started another one. When the series wasn't even finished.
Fucking Ace.
Yeah, Ace's light novel.
He also did. He also redrew chapter 50 of One Piece.
Yeah.
And now he's making manga form of the Ace light novel.
Yeah. Which is
the
finished.
Fuck?
Actually.
How do you flex an entire fucking medium like that?
He just did, bro.
This is one of the reasons. The biggest reason I think Boichi's on this list.
Because he's a monster.
Any other comments on Boichi?
No, he's just a monster. He's a monster.
He's on my list, so we can talk about him more.
Yeah, we'll do more with that. Next is Tatsuki Fujimoto.
Yeah.
I think he's mentally insane.
Huh.
Because, sure, it's one thing to draw dark, harrowing manga. It's another thing to, on the same week, in your author comment, go like, I visit my grandmother in France twice a year. I'm trying to get on her will. What? He'll talk about, oh, I had some nice strawberry crepes the other day, when fucking he kills off one of the main characters. He's fucking bullying us. Right? We go through enough, but week by week, and then he comes and says, I really like tortillas. What? I love it. It's great.
To be honest, I personally fell more in love with his assistant over time, especially now.
Who's that? From
Yukinobu Tatsu, the creator of Dan.
Right.
Yeah. but even just seeing like the influences that this person has had on him, I can kind of see a little bit of relation with their work and the way that they draw, and kind of like, oh shit, like I get more of this modern sense of being someone's assistant and then getting your own series is kind of like something big. And I remember when they did the like the one shot, just that like one story chapter that just kind of came out of nowhere. It was a good chapter, like it was like 100 pages or whatever it was.
Look Back.
Yeah, Look Back.
Yeah, Look Back is phenomenal.
Yeah.
That's long enough to be its own volume. It's getting its own volume.
And it's also the fact that like Chainsaw Man is getting an upgrade to a more adult seinen-y kind of level of shit, and it's also the fact that they did a previous work being Fire Punch. So this is a little bit. It's still relatively new in the community, but he already has kind of a moniker already, which is kind of why I enjoy seeing what he does and the stories he creates. Especially when a lot of his stories are like, what the fuck is going on?
But it's not. It's like, what the fuck is going on? But it's not like leaves you in confusion. It leaves you all, like, did that fucking okay? Did he really just sell one of his balls for money?
Is Chainsaw Man really at a McDonald's?
Yeah.
That's my favorite chapter. It's my favorite chapter.
Oh, fucking blood, guts, and destroying other demons. Hey, I want to go get a burger. Cheeseburger!
I think it's chapter 85.
Good stuff. I think that chaos is why I liked Tatsuki Fujimoto so much.
Yeah.
And then, of course, is Look Back manga about creating about an early manga career trying to be decent at creating manga. They've got trying to win their awards, trying to be noticeable. Right? I really liked that a lot. There's that small story. It's not what you'd expect from him, but I like that. I like that he's fucking chronically insane, but he can create some beautiful pieces of art.
Yeah. Also, I was right. This is chapter 85.
I've really put Kyu Hayashida in here.
Yes.
What's a talker? Clearly, look at that fucking image. Like,
that image is amazing. Also, the only female I think that any of us had.
Is this so?
Yes.
I don't really care. Kyu Hayashida is also one of the most chaotic, not chronically insane manga characters.
No.
But also able to create one of the most vibrant and ridiculously detailed fantasy. I didn't even know if I could call it fantasy, but it is it's fantastical worlds, right? But with, how do I explain Dorohedoro? I haven't even been saying some of the manga. I've just been talking about the artists. Dorohedoro, how Kyu Hayashida is able to create such a, what's the word? I'm looking for a word. Immersive yet absolutely fucking insane world. How it's able to introduce these concepts. How do you fucking, these people, these magicians, sorcerers, emit this certain black goo, right, to do their sorcery. And because of that, they've created an entire system of security, like, you know, fingerprints. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know why I love this detail so much, but they've got like a smoke scanner, right? Little bits of detail of how that world can function with these new rules that we're not used to. I find it amazing how you're able to create with one concept you're able to expand on that in the smallest ways possible. It's not just a lock and key. It could have been done that way, and the story. But those little details of world building, which you'll find in One Piece as well, absolutely mint. You also find it in Chainsaw Man, actually.
Yeah.
But I'm only talking about in Dorohedoro. I'm amazed that this Ayuka is able to delve so deep into this world they've created on a whim. They didn't rip this shit out, right? They went month by month, like, all right, what's next? And I really like how the story, despite that, is able to connect so many dots and fill in so many plot points by the end of it. One of my favorite endings in manga. That's why I put Q Hayashi on this list.
Yes.
I don't know why I put Yu Yamato so much. More so, I just like his manga. Is now on the next one, Black Clover. I just like his manga that much. What can I say about Yuki Tabata?
He understands shonen.
Oh, that's for sure. Despite taking so much inspiration from Berserk, he absolutely has created just the epitome of shonen jump manga. Battle fantasies.
Battle fantasy. Bunch of characters that are just OP.
I think he understands hype pretty well. He understands that when Mary Eliana shows up, you're gonna come. He understands that these small characters that deserve these moments, Magna, not Magma, he's a dickhead.
Yeah.
Creating one of the best fights in the entire series by far. Those emotional moments with Magna, easily the height of easily the height of the franchise. Easily. The emotional moment with Luck, the one with that fight. Absolute highlights of me. And then it doesn't, I want to say it bumps up higher, but it never gets higher for me than that. But it's still of that amazing highs. With the last chapter, I haven't read it fully, I just read the first bit. Bruh!
Oh.
Let's go! I was busy yesterday, okay, and I fell asleep.
I do think
not reading Black Clover.
Yeah, I do think Tabata understands the techniques of making you look forward to next week and hypes you up to be like, what's next? I think he really understands that kind of thing that not a lot of other mangaka really do. If you know what I mean. The only one else I can really think about is Oda. But sometimes Oda just leaves on a note where it's like, all this is happening, this is insane, what the fuck, I need more.
What else?
I love his. I enjoy his interviews.
His what?
I've read like some of his like interviews. I've enjoyed Tabata's interviews. His interviews have been quite cool, just to see like his own personal experience. Obviously, like he really gives you that impression of like he's young, he's youthful, and yet he's doing all this crap, and he's like he's gonna do something
Has he got a kid
more.
now?
Huh?
Has he got a kid now?
Yeah, but he still has that like youthful nature to him, even though he's over despite writing manga for like 5 years or whatever, he still has that. I feel the youthful nature towards him that kind of makes him feel different to other mangaka that's in his like same generation.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. Well, it's also consistently like making
that's coming out.
Even just his art style as well is quite impressive for a manga. It's not as unique as it could be, but it's unique enough to really stand on its own, and it really has shown that. Also, for a magic system, I enjoy the world that has been built around these characters and how different characters kind of shape. And again, the same thing with One Piece. It continues to feel like more characters are useful than not, if you know what I mean. With such a big cast, everyone is still pulling their weight, or at least trying to pull their weight. Whereas in other series, they just kind of get forgotten, put in the back of the scene, not really doing much. Yes.
Yeah, I like I do appreciate the way he's able to use his entire cast for one entire goal. Even despite expanding it so much, he's not forgotten them. He's not forgotten Magna and Zoro, who hadn't appeared for 50 chapters. He's not forgotten the developments that he has with the characters in the Bulls.
Yeah.
Or even outside of it. All the other captains, all the developments they made through the entire series. He certainly has not forgotten what he's done. I also like the symbolism through the elf arc.
Yeah.
I really appreciate the extra detail that I would not have noticed otherwise.
I also like the fact that, like, this is someone who was inspired by not Dragon Ball per se, but he feels like he was inspired a lot more by Bleach, Naruto, and One Piece, even, of course, Berserk as well. But it just gets me excited to the fact that more mangakas can come to a newer generation, and they can be more exciting than some older ones because they have more to be inspired off of. Whereas, like, take Dragon Ball, that came from if it was first inspired by myths and legends and folk tales. That's how it started and got its start. Fist of the North Star kind of got inspired by the fact that World War III and the Cold War might fucking nuke out the world. And even before that was just like little short stories that weren't even at the same stage that manga is to this day, and it's become such a big popular medium that I've really enjoyed to seeing the evolution of how manga has developed, and even just all these new people who keep coming into the industry kind of work towards their own goals and whatnot in their own stories. It's just been quite amazing to see. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. I like the way that art over the years it's eventually inspires itself. Eventually, there is nothing that is original in this world. Truly, there is always something that inspires other, and how you combine.
I'm not gonna lie. I have a lot that inspires me whenever I make a story. I'm always inspired by something.
Yeah, you should.
Yeah, that's what creates a spark. But what makes it...
And eventually, all these inspirations that build upon each other becomes its own something that is original. Yeah. Enough so that fucking wild to me. Like, some people's first impressions of things will never be the original.
Yeah.
The fact that in 5 years there'll be a new Spider-Man film, and some dumbass kid will be like, "Look, he's from Fortnite." Okay, but it's the way it
I remember
media grows. Eventually, what is original won't even be noticed. What inspired Spider-Man? We're not fucking reading that.
Kids of our generation thinking that all Spider-Man can just shoot webs out of their arms instead of not.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I like that one.
But it's also interesting. I find it crazy to think that, like, give it a few hundred years, and characters like Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, all these characters are gonna be seen as myths in a sense. They're gonna be seen on the same level as Hercules. They're gonna be seen on the same level as Hercules because that they are like those folk tales, and they inspired, like the myths of old. They inspired other things to take place, and I find it crazy that that's what they will eventually become. The only difference is that there were actually people who believed in Hercules, but that's not the point. It's like I find it very poetic how things go on to inspire other things, and I don't see inspiration as a bad thing. I think it's a beautiful thing, being able to see things that it's taken from other things. You know, I love it when you see a series and then you can liken it back to a myth of some kind or a tale of some kind and say, "Oh, yeah."
Yeah.
It's sort of symbolic in that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Which I think is great.
I like what I said with that Fortnite thing. I like this, like, kind of like a micro dosed version of that. It's just a few years of new things taking not inspiration, just old concepts, putting in new things, and that's when the new people think it's from, until they look into it more. I think.
I hope they don't actually think that.
Well, no, 5-year-olds will think that, and it's not something you can particularly hate on.
5-year-olds will.
Like, literally, if you give an 8-year-old Smash, don't expect him to know who the fuck Solid Snake is outside of, "Oh, I played him in Smash."
Yeah.
Like, it's just not, unless they look into it. You don't expect a 5-year-old who plays Fortnite to also Google things.
I will admit, when I played Smash for the first time, while I didn't know where the vast majority of characters were from, I knew they weren't from Smash.
Well, yeah.
I knew that
I knew
like
Mario
none of them
wasn't
were
from
from Smash besides like the hand or like original characters like in the story.
Oh,
Otherwise,
the hand was from somewhere else.
honestly, a lot of the characters I just knew were from somewhere else. But then there was just this weird sense of like, that's not from something else. That's just from something beyond something else, like Rob.
Yeah.
I looked at Rob and went, that's not something. That's something. Like, it was just so weird familiarity. Not that I had a Rob or whatever.
When you play Smash,
So
you'd
knew it
have
wasn't-
played a Pokemon.
Yeah.
You've not played Pokemon before.
Yeah,
You'd have played a Mario game before.
Yeah.
There will be kids who pick up Smash for the first time, never playing those.
Yeah.
You can't expect every new kid to understand all the lore behind everything.
Yeah, but like there are certain
You
points
see
where,
them say it's from that, and I want to smack them, but it's too tough shit.
but then you have other ones where it's like sometimes they're just so big as a medium that you're gonna look at some of the Smash Bros characters and know where they're from, like Pokemon, and even partially Mario.
But there
The
will
vast
always be
majority of-
someone experiencing it first.
Yeah,
The majority of kids would have experienced Pokemon in some form.
yeah,
Majority, yeah. I know that it's a majority. That's why it is a minor thing when using Smash as an example.
yeah. Most of them.
I like Tabasa's work is taking all that's come before him and is trying to push it in a new direction, in something that we haven't seen before, with concepts we've seen before in directions we haven't. I love that this is an example, a small example.
Yeah.
And then seeing how it will inspire other series in the future.
Yeah.
I think Chainsaw Man takes heavy inspiration from Dorohedoro, actually, according to Fujimoto. That's fun to say. Next, I want to talk about, hang on. I know who it is, just don't forget. Yusuke Murata. I literally said his name earlier in the stream.
Yeah.
Yusuke Murata is a, I've only read
Beast.
very small amounts of his work outside of One Punch Man, but I will still only talk
You
about
mean like Eye Shield 21?
Yeah, I've definitely seen or read that.
Which the author of Boichi of Dr. Stone wrote Eye Shield 21.
Riichiro Inagaki
yeah.
and Murata, how about that?
Yeah.
He just attracts the best artists.
He attracts the best artists. What the hell is that?
The only reason I put Murata second to the side of if I had to rank people's art is because of how much Boichi is able to pump out at that high quality.
Yeah.
If I can look at two of the images, I may say, hey, this image is better, but like that's because he spent a longer time on it, and that is true. It is just a better work of art. But Inagaki is able to put out that and that much more in that same period it took Murata. We wouldn't call him a better artist, just call him a better worker. Maybe. Which is not exactly how you judge art. But
I don't know. I love one's art.
Okay.
I love comparing it though.
I don't.
Like the Phoenix person, the bird, the Phoenix. I forget the name, but that compared to the one that's in the manga, like of Murata's art, it's like that's just a triangle. That's an actual character.
Yeah.
It's hilarious to me.
Yusuke Murata read this webcomic and was approached one about using this story that he's created that he loves so much and that I love as much, and trying to translate it hopefully to a medium in which people can see it more, to expand it more to an actual published manga instead of webcomic.
Yeah.
And that worked out wonderfully for one. Because one sure does rewrite some parts of the new manga, but so does Murata. The way that they're able to take what one did in a direction, it's a similar direction. It's pretty much the exact same direction, but little side things they do along the way, little extra details to the scenes. The way that Murata is able to constantly one-up himself. I'm not going to mention what he did recently, but how a double page is supposed to be this massive event. So when you do the serious punches, the amount of double pages is a bit ridiculous. He's creating massive murals and splitting them up on volume covers. So if I just take my volumes out, I can put them together, and it's neat. I like how much he's willing to go over the top to show these important moments in One Punch Man. I really like that, and how he's able to create, see what one is made with his, let's call them blueprints, and able to put in this detail that we didn't even know we needed. I really like that in Yusuke Murata's work. All good?
I was just skimming through the first volume of One Punch Man, and I saw a guy wearing a shirt that says Mobu Psycho 1 million.
Yeah, doesn't Reagan have a wallpaper of Saitama?
I think so.
Yeah. Little things here and there. Now, next is... The last one here is One, the writer of One Punch Man. Well, he's separate from Yusuke Murata, because he's also done other things. Well,
yeah.
And this is more about writing more so than art. It is mostly about the characters and the themes with him. It's not so much about the setting or about the story, so much as it is about the characters within those stories and what they represent.
But it still has amazing art.
Absolutely, sure. Let's go with that. If you look at One Punch Man, it is the story about a depressed man who is seemingly got everything he wanted and trying to find more to live. And then all the fight scenes are a bonus. In Mob Psycho, it's an anxious kid who's trying to find something else he can be good at, not this thing that he's been gifted, but trying to find his place in the world. I fucking adore these things that he's written. He's made Mob Psycho the greatest psychic on the fucking planet. He'll win every fight. Saitama, the strongest person on the planet, by far. And even if they have all these massive skills that either they've born with or they've earned, the story isn't about him as a psychic or him as a superhero. It's him as a person, and their impacts on the world and how the world impacts them. I'm here. This is probably the only one here that I'm talking mostly about the. Obviously, I've talked about the art of all those and the writing, but mostly, with One especially, the way he writes his characters is something I just can't get over. And it's what makes me love his work so much. Mob Psycho 100 and One Punch Man, absolute beautiful works of art, even if their art is not that beautiful. That is my 9x9 and my favorite mangaka.
3x3.
Yeah, that mixed up. 3x3, 9 mangaka.
Yeah. Well.
That's it. That's all we're going to talk about.
And now, Caleb, you ready?
Okay. Okay.
Oh, now you actually have a picture of Udo. Very nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna preface a few things. So the first thing is that, and of all the 3x3s we've done, this is probably been the hardest one for me, largely because I don't actually read that much manga, especially when you compare it to these two other gentlemen here.
Aside.
So a lot of the
What do you mean
people
Alex hasn't read that much?
A lot of the people on this list are actually mangakas that have written a manga that I actually haven't read, but I'm going to assume that the anime is a faithful adaptation, so I'm going to assume any good writing from the show is a credit to them as well. If it's not, then tough shit, but I'm gonna go with that assumption.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which I can guarantee most of these are. Like, there might be some differences between the anime, but that's the anime.
Yeah.
That's just like normal anime things.
And then obviously I tend to skip filler anyway, so
yeah.
Whatever's filler, then I just ignore whatever.
And usually,
anyway.
if it's not long running, the anime usually will change. The writing decisions of the anime was trying to make the climax, the end of the season, more grand.
Yeah.
I noticed. I haven't read so much animated manga comparison with the endings, but I know in Dorohedoro, the ending to there was like some dramatic, like wave got each other, but really it was just them taking a nap in the manga.
Yeah.
They wrote it to be more grand. It doesn't change the story in any significant way in the long term, but the adaptations of anime, seasonal anime, can have the endings of the anime be grander than they are in the manga. So which you'll probably understand in Mario more than most other things you got here.
Okay, so I have to look at my list because I don't recognize it. 5 face except one.
You say Matsui.
Yeah. Okay, so,
Who I was surprised to find out.
The thing that I know him from is Assassination Classroom.
Yeah, and I was
Admittedly,
surprised to find out he's the creator of The Elusive Samurai.
Now, admittedly, I need to rewatch Assassination at some point, or reread it, whichever. Because not that refreshed on it, but my memory of it and of the writing I thought was well done. I like the way he took different characters, and I like when shows take different characters and explore their different things, different, I suppose, journeys of characters, and even more side characters. I mean, obviously they didn't get as much as Kama and Nagisa, understandably, but they still got a bit more. I don't remember many of the names, but the baseball guy.
Yeah.
How he wanted to be better, and then Okada, when like she was really smart, but she just wasn't able to communicate well. I like how especially since I love teachers in anime, teachers in and manga as well. I love them because I love to see teachers imparting knowledge in ways that are unique to each student, and I think it's one great thing about Koro Sensei is that because he's this super powerful, fast as fuck not alien, but alien looking man, he is able to actually sort of individually teach every student almost simultaneously, which I think allows the writing to explore each individual student to a bit of a deeper degree, and to allow Koro Sensei to impart lessons to each individual student, which I think works quite well. Meanwhile, with most teachers, while they will impart individual knowledge, they obviously cannot do it to the same degree. And again, obviously, Koro Sensei, there's still a focus on the bigger characters because they are the bigger characters. But I do like how he uses Koro Sensei in that way, and I do like how he uses Koro Sensei as sort of this wall, in a way, this big obstacle that is like, we're never going to be able to kill him, but then there's more to the unkillable octopus man, and I quite like that. So that's why he's made this list, because I like how he's how he sets the story up.
One of my favorite things in the manga, specifically the manga, is a side story in Volume 3 where Koro Sensei is with Saiki Kuswa.
Of course.
And they're like fighting over like some dessert or whatever. And I just love that fact. Just like the extra little contents in the manga.
I think I have Volume 3. I do have 4 volumes. Yeah. That's why you say Matsui is on this list.
Yep.
And then we move on to Tsugumi Oba and Takeshi Obata.
Yep.
Who did Death Note. I mean, I don't know if I have to really explain Death Note. It is fantastically written.
We also talked about this on my list. They were on my list, but for a different manga.
Yeah. But Death Note was fantastically written. I think it was actually okay. I blame Death Note for making me dislike other shows, because I think I've watched shows like Sword Art Online and all that. I'm like, yeah, these are pretty good. And then I watched Death Note and I'm like, this is so fucking good. These other ones are shit compared to it. And I wholeheartedly blame shows like Death Note for making me dislike them more. But yeah, I very much like theme within stories. I love when writers are able to create a theme, not just a style and an ambience, but also just actions that characters take thematically, almost poetically, have meaning. And I definitely feel like a lot of times within Death Note you see that. I remember the scene where I don't know if this was in the manga or not, but Al says that if Light were to be caught, he would either be sent to life in prison or he would be put on death row. And I found that really interesting because it's like, on one hand, you're going after this guy for killing criminals. On the other hand, you admit that if you caught him, it's very possible that he would die. So you're, in a way, sort of doing the same thing, in that you yourself are determining whether someone should die or not. Meanwhile, that's what he's doing, which I found very interesting, and how that one of the themes of the series is, does someone have the right to decide who dies and who doesn't? And I like the irony of Al, and Al doesn't necessarily agree with it or disagree with it. It didn't necessarily make that sure. He was just saying, based off the legal system, that's what's going to happen. But I find it interesting that the legal system dislikes him, yet at the same time he is doing something that the legal system has the power to do and would do. So I like that irony, and I things like that, especially irony within shows, I very much love. So I very much like how they handle the themes within Death Note. And another on this list also does themes very well, and that's why he's at the top. But we'll get to him then. Oh shit! Oh, I just saw what you said. Oh no, he's not dead. Oh, thank fuck. No, hang on. You said it. And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh, thank fuck.
I literally, while you were talking, I saw that on my feed. I'm like, fucking iconic. No. Oh, thank fuck. So I'm like, I gotta send it. Oh, it was beautiful, and it was recorded.
For context, he sent a tweet of James Earl Jones turning 91. I read that and thought he died, and I was, for that split second, I was like, what the fuck, no, and then I read he was his birthday. So it's okay.
Oh. This is why you gotta say happy birthday at the start of the tweets. Not the iconic voice of Mustafa and Darth Vader.
Because whenever someone says the iconic something, it means the person's
something
dead.
bad's happened.
Yeah.
It means they're dead.
Bro,
You read that and you're like, oh no, here we go.
I actually, as soon as I saw that, I remembered that on my name day, James Earl Jones' birthday, so I didn't get fooled by it. I didn't get fooled by it.
Oh, you lucky cunt. Because I bro.
What, my birthday was yesterday? I mean...
Like, literally, fucking saw that. My heart skipped to me while Caleb was talking about themes and shit. I'm like, I gotta send it.
Not that he listens, but happy birthday, James Earl Jones. What
James
an ad
Earl
lib.
Jones.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Great man.
Thank you for surviving.
Thank you for not being dead.
I just want to add something for this in terms of these two, because this was in my top 3 of my picks, and what makes me enjoy them so much is the fact that they have done multiple great work, and just to see even just the way that where they've come from as a team, as well as how hard they work together to create the stories that they do and everything, and they keep pushing themselves and whatnot to create so many good stories, and you really get a feel for who they are and how they write whenever you see their other series, and they can control and kind of think about the different drama and things that go on in their stories. They really they can go different pathways and still feel kind of great. They don't just need to stick down like the same road as Death Note. Well, of course, Death Note had become such a phenomenon that I don't feel like a lot of people see that they have done other work, which is a shame for me personally because I love their other work so much. And I do want other people to go look at their other work. If that's Platinum of the End or if that's Bakuman, I urge you go look at their other stuff. There is more out there than just Death Note, which you know is already good. So go look at other shit.
I will admit I've always wanted to eventually one day read Bakuman or one of his other works, their works.
Yeah. Because like as a team, like this is one of the things where it's like these two people always work together. They always create together, and I really enjoy that kind of like the bond and the friendship. And like in Bakuman, even because the whole story of Bakuman is two people creating a manga. Even just like the little like instead of like breaks where SBSs would be, you would see they put their storyboards there. So you see Oba's storyboard, like the shitly drawn one. And then you move on to seeing how Obata kind of helps create the story and see what he does, and I really like the way that like you get to see how two people work. One with the shittest things, and just the next one with like this is what it's going to be. This is how to do layout with you. What you've said. We're going to not just have this be one big bubble. We'll separate into smaller bubbles and it flows better. I like how they're able to work as a team, and it makes me appreciate even their older stuff more, like Death Note, because I do, like I said when I was talking about it, I do own both Bakuman and Death Note, and nowadays I really go back whenever I want to go through Death Note. It's typically through the manga because I really enjoy the way it's set up, and it's kind of just shown in the story. Despite being relatively the same.
I do quite like at the end of Bakuman chapters about a series about making manga that they show part of their creative process for that chapter.
That's great.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's always interesting to see.
But it is great to see the process.
It's always interesting to see, just like how people do things. You know what I mean? Even if it's like behind the scenes shit. And seeing how they do certain effects or whatever, it's always very interesting. But even for manga and all that, how they plan shit and how they go through that process, it is always interesting to see.
Yeah. Next one. I don't know what you're gonna say about this.
Sankaku head, who has a square head, as you can see.
That's literally what he goes by as well. It's like he doesn't have a name.
I reckon that's what he really looks like. I reckon. Anyway, he made Umoto Umaru-chan. Look, I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't really put him in for the quality of writing. I put him here because Umaru's fucking funny, and yeah, he made a funny character that I really liked. I really liked it. So there's not much else I can really say. I mean, okay, I will give him this. Now I don't know how much of this is in the manga because I've read little of the Umaru manga. But however, if the anime is indeed a good adaptation, I like the fact that characters do have some development and it's not just pure comedy. It is a lot of it's comedy. It is very much just funny, but there is a little bit of stuff there which it's just the right mixture that it's just nice. It's like it's a little bit of development, but it's still funny, and yeah, I like that. But yeah, there's not much I can really say about him. Does anyone want to give something, or should I move on?
No, a single thing.
No, I can't really. No. I think he has a funny...
I do like that you've put him here because you found...
Yeah.
I mean, one of the reasons I put one of mine is that I like his tweets. I love the simple base. Like, I like that part. So he's the best.
And I love when he's in. I love him in like when he's in the background, right? When they're at the game tournament, and he's just there as one of the gamers. but he's got the head and everything, and no one gives a shit. He's just this man with a square head at a gaming tournament. I just find it funny. Not much. We move on to Masashi Kishimoto.
That's a name I feel like a lot of people would know.
Yeah.
We were talking about when it was my one, how I feel like not a lot of people really remember the mangaka's name, because most people will go through their series watching the anime alone. But Kishimoto is a name that I feel like a lot of people know. And that's definitely a name that like people know. Like who the fuck knows Yusei Matsui's name?
Yeah.
You never heard his name come up.
I've only really learned names until like I've bought the manga and I've read it a bit because it's on the front page. But when it comes to things like Naruto, even just watching the anime, it's like you'll probably eventually learn who Kishimoto is, even if it's just watching like a Swag Kage video where he mentions something said by Kishimoto or whatever.
Yeah.
Like you'll eventually learn his name. Which I think is a fate destined for anyone who makes a really popular and a really long
Kubo,
series.
Oda, Toriyama.
Yep.
Yeah. Araki.
Anyway, why do people know his name? That's the question.
Because he made such an influential series for the West.
I'll be honest. Naruto. I mean, I've said this before. It's like people. I often think of Naruto a bit poorly because of the ending, but when I
always forget how good it is.
When I go back and consume it, I forget that there is actually solid writing.
Yeah.
Through almost all of it until the end.
Yeah.
All of it, like the Zabuza arc, the Chunin exams, the pain arc, just all these arcs, and especially, I mean, I've talked about it before, but the way he can do character emotions and the way he can do the characters, I think his strength, right? I think different writers have different strengths. I definitely think Kishimoto's strength is characters. He does characters very well, right? Having characters start in a spot and then have them move on. You know, Gaara, Naruto, Sasuke. Just, it's amazing to see some of these characters go from real big lows and then have them come to real big highs, and it definitely gives it a real feel good feeling. And how different characters are similar to other characters, you know what I mean? And how their experiences are very similar. You know, you look at characters like Naruto and Gaara, how they had very, very, very similar upbringings. The difference is minor things, but also perhaps small choices made by not only Naruto but other people, and how those small things influence. But at their core, they're still similar. At the core, they're both not demons, but just seeing how it relates and how Kishimoto eventually has one influence the other. And then you have, like later on, when Gaara is trying to get Naruto to stop doing something that might end up harming him. I just love how he handles characters like that, and even other characters and motivations like Pain, and having Pain also have a tragic story. But it also feels like these tragic stories aren't tragic for the sake of it. You know, It doesn't feel like it doesn't feel like he's just giving everyone a sad backstory because he gives everyone a sad backstory because the world's fucking shit. That's the reason everyone has had problems, because the world is not kind.
Same with One Piece.
Yeah, exactly. Every single person got fucked over because this world has problems, and that's the point. And that's why that's why the characters do what they do, and it's always interesting to see that. You know, a lot of the problems that affects one person affects another. You know what I mean? which I just find so interesting. I love when um even the villains. I mean, all the villains of Naruto, save for one, are very good and have more to them. You know what I mean? Probably the only real jarring one, other than the obvious, may have been Orochimaru. I did feel that Orochimaru sort of changed a bit too quickly. Like,
Yep.
it felt a bit jarring when he became better. That being said, it wasn't too bad, you know. So yeah, I just think the reason he is here is, again, his characters. I just love the way he handles them.
One thing I really want to talk about when it comes to Kishimoto is, besides the fact that volume 7, 8, and 9 were the first volumes of manga I ever owned of Naruto. Those were the first. So I have a soft spot in my heart for those volumes, which, if you don't know, takes place during the end of the Death Forest, whatever, and it ends at the beginning of Rock Lee versus Gaara. So it takes all those fights. So Kiba versus Naruto, Neji versus Hinata, all those ones. So I have a real soft spot for that. And one aspect I really loved about reading Naruto, especially, besides just the art is pristine, and for a mangaka, the art is just really good. But it's in between each of the chapters. Instead of doing something like an SBS where he talks to the fans, or just like these little clips where he talks to about like different aspects of like short little skits of him just saying random shit like in other manga, and most manga does. He took the time to write paragraphs, and a paragraph about himself and the journey he has taken. And it really gives you such a perspective on who he is as an author, and it really helps you understand, like I just opened to a random one. He talks about Dragon Quest, the game, and really how much in his early life that Akira Toriyama's works really influenced him. Not just Dragon Quest. There's another one here with like a little drawing he's done of Ariel, and whenever other mangaka really try and like draw like in celebration of another manga, when you go and look at what he did, like he did an obscure reference that of course only a real fan would know when he like drew something for Dragon Ball, because he really feels like a fan of Dragon Ball. And you really see that, and I appreciate like these little details about his own life, the journey he took, and his early life, what his life kind of added to it, and he even like comments about like a house plant he had in the early days of him with Naruto not really giving the plant much attention, and was talking about like how it died or whatever. I really enjoy this kind of nature that he brought to his story, and added something like how he added his own story on top of what he's giving to the fans. That's one of the things that I've never seen with any other mangaka, is that he actually took the time to write out a paragraph for the end of like each chapter to talk about like his journey, what he went through. I really love that.
It is nice to like find out more about the author. Because while I do think in some ways someone's other characteristics doesn't necessarily play too much of a it doesn't change whether they're a good writer or not. I do think it does influence some of the ways, some of their expressions within the world.
Yeah, like knowing that there are a lot of Dragon Ball references. I mean, the Four Tails is just one big Dragon Ball reference.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. And he's Jinchuriki.
Yeah.
Yeah.
His Jinchuriki's Roshi, who has Son Goku inside of him, a red ape.
And even you look at a lot of Naruto in general, there's a lot of mythology. A lot of mythology.
Folk tales about Kitsune and whatnot. Or even the trio of Tsunade, Tsunade, Orochimaru, and Tsunade were from Folktale.
And then the Sharingan ability, or the Mangekyo abilities, all named after Japanese gods. So
which are siblings.
Yeah.
They were siblings, yeah. Tsukuyomi, Susanoo, and Amaterasu are all Japanese god siblings.
And then Koro Matsukami as well, that's the other one. Which I just that's and it's also that also plays into what we were talking about before about influences, sort of like Dragon Ball. Dragon Ball took from mythology.
Yeah.
So Naruto also took a little bit from mythology as well as a little bit from Dragon Ball. And it really adds to the character,
As well as Naruto. Naruto's just such a good character. He's such a good main character, I think.
Yeah.
He really is. He's not annoying. He's kind of just like.
And even when he was annoying, like he became not so much. That was fantastic. Seeing him grow and seeing him come into Shippuden not as the little dickhead. He's still a dickhead, but not as much of a dickhead as he was pre-time skip. Because he grows, and it's amazing to see that, especially even during the war. I mention this all the time because I just love how it happens. How he's at the start of the war, he's still using the Shadow Clone to make the Rasengan, and by the end of it, he's not. And at no point do they say it. At no point he just starts. He's just doing it, and it's like that's fantastic because you don't have to explain it. I noticed. People will notice that he's getting better just by fighting.
Yeah.
And that's fantastic. I love when authors have faith in the audience.
Yeah.
It annoys me when authors don't have faith and like, oh yeah. Look at this. We know.
It's annoying as fuck.
Or even just like one of my favorite things is the fact that things that were happening in his own personal life changed events in Naruto. Like one of my favorite known ones is the one where he became a father. It changed how he thought about things and how Naruto should view Minato and Kushina. Like I don't think Kushina would have been a character if not for Kishimoto having a child. And I do like that aspect where things in his own life really did change and shape the story. Of course, that also is a little bit of a detriment because he didn't plan anything really, but he still made a great story for majority of his tenure.
He did pretty well, all things considered. Right, he did pretty well. I mean, he fumbled a bit when he made Madara too powerful, and he couldn't figure out how to kill him.
No, he fumbled a bit when he just made Madara.
Now, I wouldn't go that far.
I mean, Madara was in the story early on
so he fumbled early on. No,
he was set up pre-time skip.
Even the reanimation was set up pre-time skip.
Yeah. Fuck that. Yeah. That's another thing I love about what they do in Naruto, how techniques like evolve. How like Toby Rama
he's like,
makes the reanimation jutsu, but it's like it's not as good, but he's developed it.
Yeah.
And then Orochimaru's like, oh, I see what you've done here. I'll make a few adjustments here, make it a little bit better. Here's mine. And then Kabuto's like, you did pretty good, but here's my version, which is just an improvement.
Just look at
on
Minato.
Everything. It just builds on, and it's fantastic.
I mean, Minato's technique, the Flying Raijin, is created by Tobirama. You look at their formulas.
Yeah.
One formula is like a proper fucking formula. One of them's a proper fucking formula that he had to think about, he had to create. The other one's just like a word.
Yeah. Oh my god, you know my dad's jutsu.
No, it's mine, you fool. No, it's mine, you fool.
Yeah. And look, you know what? I'll give it to writers that have like their works big. There's a reason the work is big. You know, they've done something.
They've done something right.
They've done something. They've done it well. Yeah. You know. And tip my hat to him. Very well done. Moving on.
Yeah.
To Richiro Inagaki and Boichi. Double Trouble.
Double trouble.
I'm gonna try not to talk too much because I
Yeah.
want to talk as much about Doctor Stone when we actually get to a Doctor Stone review.
Yeah, but it's on next review.
However, so far the writing is fantastic. I've explained it before, but you know, the way he takes the characters and the setting and uses seemingly mundane phenomena and turns them into something over the top almost. But it's not over the top. It's not exaggerated. It's just compared to everything around them. It's it's special. It's fantastic. And he does do characters well. That's another thing I'll give him. I think all the characters are great. That last read through we did with fuck, I forgot his name already.
The boy?
Alex's
big
boy?
man.
Yeah.
No.
You mean Ryusui?
No, Villain Man. Fuck, why am I
Tsukasa.
names right now? That's it. Fuck. Names today for me. Yeah, Tsukasa. That pass we did with him. Wow. Fucking well done. Well done, you know?
One thing I do
like
appreciate.
how they handled him.
One thing I just want to say is I do appreciate that you're reading the manga for this.
Yes.
This is your first experience with
this
it.
This is one of the few ones where it's like I'm only talking about the manga. The anime, I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, yeah. As I was saying, yeah, I love how they did Tsukasa in the last one. I like how they handles most of the characters. I think they're some side characters I think could probably use a bit more. That being said, they're not too important, so it's like, I don't particularly want to know too much more about those 3 other random girls in the village.
Yeah.
So it's not too bad they don't get a lot of attention, but I mean, it is. I mean, and then again, it is an entire village, so there's inevitably going to be people that are going to have not as much screen time.
Essentially, just a fat guy who likes ramen. That's all we know about him.
That's true. But yeah, I like to see how everyone has different reactions to things. How in this science world, each character wants their own thing out of it. And I like how they show how the things that Senku and Chrome are doing can benefit almost everyone.
Chrome science.
Chrome the science man.
Creator
Chrome the science guy. Nah.
He invented the water
Chrome.
I love the boat.
Chrome.
Nah. We just read the boat thing. Like with this is what they believe a boat to be, and to make it like a great boat. This is what they think a boat should be, and then Senku.
No, but then there's just Yo, who's like, I've got the best boat here. You guys are fucked. I'm winning this. And then he sees Magma's boat. Second thought, and he's like, And then they see Senku's boat. And Magma's so sure that he's won. He's like, you're not doing much. You can't do this. Yes. Well, here's a man of war. He's a full fucking galleon. Come at me. Yeah. Fantastic. But initially on this, I put Boichi, but I also like the story, so that's why it's two of them. But Boichi, again, he's a sweat. I don't know. It's like you don't have to do that much. You do not have to do that much. No one would care. No one would bat an eye. But he does it anyway, to the individual fibers of the rope. You don't have to, but he does it to the individual, like, cracks in the robes that's in the back. You don't need to do that to the bit of hair, to the individual strands of hair.
Yeah, the manga can't take it. Just look at Alex's cooked books.
to even, like, at the end of the rope, there's a little bit that from the fibers inside the rope where you've cut it. You don't need to do that, but he does. And then even character designs as well. I love the design where with like stone on someone. You know what I mean? I love that design, and it's a good visual way of differentiating the people who are native to this world or time and the people who are not, which I think is something that's actually quite useful.
As well as because each crack is individual and unique, it helps to understand. All right, that's that character just by looking at the scar or where it is.
Yeah.
Like Ryusui's scars are on his fingers, so it's like okay, that's him.
Yeah.
That's him. Yeah.
He's always snapping into.
Yeah, he's always snapping him as well.
Yeah. And then even I like I forgot her name because I don't particularly care too much about the character, but the reporter girl. How she's got the little like horns, the horns, ear head. I don't know. They look like horns. I like those. That's quite cool. But even other characters, like Yo, because isn't his around his eye?
Well, no, he kept the piece of stone and he puts it on his eye.
And then it broke.
Yeah, but it's still like part of his like character design.
Yeah, exactly.
What I'm getting at.
And then it broke when he saw the ship.
Yeah.
His eye just.
And then I mean even just the cracks as well, not just like the stone pieces, but also just the cracks. Yeah. I think that's really interesting, and the characters, you know, look sort of unique, as a result, and even their attire as well. You know, unless it's just their head, you can pretty much always tell when it's Kohaku because Kohaku sort of obviously is always wearing that sort of hide gear or whatever the material is. But yeah,
we only had that from like one panel.
Yeah,
that's when they both stuck their heads out of the tents.
I will like the design when it comes to, you know, like when they're planning to build something, and it's like you see this 4-wheel drive, and it's like, oh my god, is this what they're gonna build? And then they just build this shitty fucking car. But I like the primitive punk, the primitive style of how you got this high-tech shit, but it's in a primitive sort of way. I quite like that, and I quite like how they design stuff.
What do you mean? Clearly, the best designed character is Suika. Great Detective Suika.
This man literally just said, "Alright, we need a new character, fellas. Right, what are we gonna do? Little girl with a watermelon on her head, like on top, like like her head's a watermelon,
and she can
turtle. She can go in the watermelon.
Well, what if she can go on the watermelon and roll really fast, and that's how she travels? Oh, yep. And what if we have a scene where she rolls up a pole somehow? Excuse me? What if we also have her leading the child labor group?
Excuse me?
And what if we make her a detective as well?
Great Detective Suika on the case.
Done. This is the perfect character.
Luigi's like, I've already drawn it. It's right here.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We're also gonna make her blind. And
just to make her endearing.
And then we're gonna give that melon to another character briefly, and make that character ironically cooler with the melon on.
Fucking Kinro.
And then he's gonna burn the other character's face with the melon glasses. But he needs a bit of sweat in there. I just love that.
Lens.
Yeah, the designs in general look cool. Even Magma's design and the man, the chief, old chief.
He has a name. Hang on. I forgot it.
Kyokyo.
And then Kaseki. Oh, Kaseki's a mad dog.
Wait a minute, he's the shredded one. No one else is shredded like he is.
He's just, you know, you want me to make a car? Shirt off.
Let's
You want me
go.
to make a telephone? Shirt off. You want me to make fairy floss? Shirt fucking off.
He doesn't know what these things are, but he's doing it.
And then
You
he
know
does
it's
it
gonna be
to
good
a
with the Senku.
And I'll tell you what, I like them creating sort of the distinction between the engineers and the scientists. Because the scientists tell you how things work, and then the engineers will go ahead and make it.
Yeah.
They'll go ahead and put it into practice.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
Anyway, if there are no more comments about the sweat,
No.
we shall move on to Kazuma Kamachi,
Yeah.
who is the writer for Toaru. Now, I believe he is also the writer for the light novel, and
Yes,
I
he
have
is.
read the light
I
novel.
double-checked. Yeah.
It was a decent read. Now, I can't really talk too much on the actual words he was using because obviously it was translated,
Yeah.
and I can't read the Japanese one because
I mean, I've read
know what the
I've
fuck
read
it's
a bit
saying.
of the manga.
But I think he's definitely the light novels were better than the manga. I think the
Yeah.
manga
Yeah, I do think
was
so.
a bit
I do think
was
as
a
well.
bit was a bit stinky.
Yes.
But the light novels are good. That was a nice read. I remember I'd read them in class. I shouldn't have been reading them in class, but I was reading them in
Who gives a
class.
shit?
It was in physics or something. I didn't give a fuck, and I was reading this. You want me to study science? There you go. I'm studying accelerator. There you go. That's science. And a bit of magic, but you know. But I do remember they were quite a good read, and I do like the characters. You know, just like you know, the general ideas and I suppose archetypes of each character. Um, even Accelerator's character, fucking love Accelerator's character, fucking fantastic. Um,
Yep.
even like his sort of redemption arc, I suppose. I love how that was handled,
Yeah.
especially that one scene where Last Order's telling him, "Well, why were you talking to us? If you wanted to kill us, why were you talking to us?"
Mm.
And they didn't chalk it up to just like villains monologuing. No, there was actually a reason he was talking to them. And that's because deep down, subconsciously, he didn't want to kill them. He sort of wanted to give them subconsciously more of a chance to live, a bit longer to live. And I thought that was very interesting the way they handled that. And even other moments in that series where that scene where Toma he gets his mind wiped, and Alex was there, and because you know he did psychology, more psychology than me, and when he mentioned that there's actually different parts of the brain that handle different things, and how that it actually makes scientific sense that whilst his mind was still wiped, he would have felt some way towards Index, which I thought was interesting. That there's actually some scientific
Whatever I
justification.
said back then, I don't remember it now, but I do remember doing that.
You could have been full of shit, but it sounded smart. So I'm like, oh, okay, this is cool. This is science stuff, and this makes it. This is interesting. Which I like when that happens. I like when there's a bit of science to it, and I mean, it's one of the reasons I like Dr. Stone, but also Toaru does it a bit as well. And I think Toaru was like, that's the things I liked about Toaru, and it sort of created my enjoyment of seeing like science implemented into series. And then when I started reading Dr. Stone, it's like, this is like all of that, which is why I really liked it. But even his ability to create side stories for different characters, you know, his ability to create another series for Accelerator and Mystica, and how even Mystica has her own friends that don't really like don't really matter too much to Toma, but obviously they're in the same city and all that.
Like who? Like Toma doesn't. Like Toma doesn't know who the fuck Sartan is.
No.
Damn shame.
The closest is like the closest but furthest away of her group is I think Yuzuriha, because she has appeared in Dex, I believe, because she was grouped, because obviously she's a part of that team with Kokyo, whatever the fuck her name is. Yeah. So she has appeared, but like she hasn't done anything of note with Toma at all as well. Mugino's group. I like the Mugino's group bit.
Yeah.
Well, but that's more just because I love Mugino.
And also it was great. I love, like, because I fortunately read, Index Season 3, a bit of it, a little bit of.
I remember you talking to me about like reading the plane scene.
Yeah.
I remember that.
I read like the first part when they were in France.
Yeah.
And then I think I read the second one, but then I think I stopped reading when I think they were in that underground area of the city, that underground district, I think it was. But yeah, and I fucking love when you read something and then you see what you've read be like made and visualized in like an anime or even a live action thing. Like it was fantastic. It was fantastic. Like, you know, painting the pictures in my head and then seeing it animated. I'm like, oh, that did not look like anything I imagined, but that looks very familiar. That I imagined somewhat like that. And it's nice to see that happen.
Yeah. I'm actually going to re-watch all of Toaru in February. I've kind of set me to re-watch it in February because I want to re-watch it. And I'm kind of just like I'm getting in that mood of like just getting excited to see like all the different groups, all different characters. My man, my sexy ass man. Oh.
I am slowly getting. I'm.
But I would honestly love to get into the light novels. I'm just also partially scared to get into the light novels.
Yeah.
I like it's kind of like jumping into comics. It's like I don't know where to start, and if I like start with something like a very like scene, it's kind of like I don't know how to feel about this.
I've been sort of trying to get back into reading a lot more. Fortunately, I have been getting back into it, and I intend to, once I finish going through the shit I'm going through, I'm hoping to move on to more light novels like Toaru, and to get into them more so. I just got to get through.
If I'm going into a light novel series, it'll probably be my favorite light novel series, which is Monogatari. Yeah.
I mean, but there's other great light novels. Did I get? Or maybe I didn't get them. I thought I got it.
You and Slime.
I thought I got it.
I like how we all have our own like our own light novel series that I feel like is just us. Mine's Monogatari, Alex's Slime, and Caleb's Toaru.
I got Toaru. I've got 2 volumes of SAO, but they're from different
series.
One's the Phantom Bullet.
Yeah.
The start of the Phantom Bullet, and the other one's the start of Mother's Rosario. That is another one I will give a little bit of an honourable mention. Is that the SAO light novel? The first one. I read the first.
Even I've heard from other people that they like them more.
They're much better. The first 2 are much better than the anime. The light novels are. Primarily for the fact that you actually are inside Kirito's head. So, there's actually more to the character than just, he's OP as fuck. You actually hear his more rationalizations, and it's actually far more interesting. So that's why I would give him that, because the light novel isn't that bad. A lot of the problems I have with the anime is not a problem with the light novel. It's still like, you know, isn't the greatest thing ever created, but it's not as bad. Especially because, like, in the anime, you do see Kirito doing all this OP shit, but in the light novel, you see him be almost solitary about it. He's he feels like he's on his own because he's this far ahead of everyone, and he even recognizes that people like Klein are better than him because Klein didn't just go off and go through the game because he knew all of it. He actually stayed behind to look after his mates, which I quite like how there's that more emotional side of things. Anyway, that was an honorary mention. I was tempted to put him on here actually because of that, but yeah. Anyway, because we're on the topic
The
of
big man. It's the big man.
Honestly, he's on here because I can't really say too much about him being the like the greatest writer of all time. It's not like he puts all this stuff that the other writers does, but he created Dragon Ball. Like he did that, and it's amazing that he was able to create such a simple yet such a compelling story, one that just grips people and has people that aren't even into don't even watch anime, they enjoy it and they love it. And I think that's something that is what makes Dragon Ball so special. And I'm sure his other series, which I want to read at some point, I am sure they have the same sort of feeling to them. It's just obviously Dragon Ball ended up getting bigger and it severely overshadowed his other series.
Yeah, I one of the things I love about him is how he treats he treats Dragon Ball in comparison to his other series, where he sees it more equivalent to his other series, not better. That's one thing I like. How he appreciates everything he's done, not just one thing that he's well known for.
And of course, and this is, it's a problem that I think everyone has. Every artist of anything ever is going to have this, because you look at people like what's his name? The guy who played Obi-Wan, the old one.
Fuck.
It was knighted.
Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness, that's it. Sir Alec Guinness. How he was reported to, like, be a bit. He was reported to dislike Star Wars a bit, and a lot of that
that's just Han Solo.
Was that it was probably because he obviously did a lot of other shit before Star Wars, but as soon as he did Star Wars, that's what he was known for. He wasn't known for his other roles. No one gave a shit. People gave a shit about Obi-Wan. So I can sort of understand that in the sense that for a lot of artists, they might create something that is so popular that people only ever care about that thing you did. And they won't care about the other things you did that you're equally as proud of, if not more proud of, than the thing that you're famous for. Which I can definitely understand.
This is how I know he made a good character, especially a protagonist. Goku is one of the only characters I can draw completely, like a full body drawing, just based off my memory. I can do it with one other person, and that's Luffy. Those two characters are two people I can draw without any inspiration or any reference. I can just draw them because I know how they work so much, to the point where Dragon Ball, even so, I know it from adult Goku's point of view and young Goku. Yeah, that's when I know he made an amazing character. Like, I was just sitting here sketching their heads with no reference to anything. So there's a Luffy head next to a Goku head.
And I suppose in a way that comes from not only the fact that they are popular and you see them fucking all the time, but also from the fact that
Character design.
the art style is
Yeah.
relatively simpler. Not worse. Being simpler is not necessarily worse,
No.
but it's just simpler, and it's just a little bit easier to do. Not for me. It's going to be equally shit, even if I try to draw a Dragon Ball character. But the point is that it is simpler, and I think again that's his sort of design. I think his design and especially Oda's design as well is very recognizable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of designs aren't so much. I forgot who's the guy that does JoJo's. I always forget his name.
Araki, yeah.
Yeah, Araki. Yeah, his design is very is very recognizable.
Yeah, that's the
but
only person who does that art.
Others less so. Others less so. You know, it's not to say they don't have their style. Obviously, they do.
Like,
You know
Kishimoto
what I mean?
has
They're
his
more
style,
similar.
but I don't feel like it's as
Yes.
strong
Yeah.
as Dragon Ball or One Piece or
I think it
JoJo's.
was it Kishimoto? People would, because you sent the things of wasn't it people drawing Bleach?
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
then you sent Kishimoto's, and for a second I couldn't tell what the difference was. For that split second I couldn't tell, because they're so similar. They do have a difference, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's still very similar. But then when you send something like One Piece, it's like, okay, Oda drew that.
Yeah.
I can tell.
And if other
Oda drew
artists
that.
draw One Piece, you know it's not Oda, you know it's someone else.
Exactly. And it's so I think that's always great, and I think that's very important for a series. I think it's important for anything to have a style, because it's what allows people to recognize it, and what allows it to become more popular, because people want to see something and be like, that's the thing I recognize and that I like, instead of something that I don't recognize and don't like. It's why a lot of people find new reboots and all that jarring, because it has the title of the old thing, but it doesn't feel like the old thing perfectly, because it's not the old thing, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I love the fact that styles, and you know what, the style's even not that bad, you know.
Yeah.
It is a decent style, and it works for what it wants to accomplish at times.
Yeah, look at this one. This is Type Kubo drawing Bleach. You can just tell that that's Kubo's work.
Yeah.
It's the way he draws chins.
Yeah.
I love how Piccolo in that image reminds me of Kenpachi. It just has that Kenpachi grin, which just makes me feel like that particular one is from when he was, you know, still not the best guy around.
Oops.
Oh, I like the way he did Vegeta. His take on Vegeta is very interesting.
It's like you look at that one. It's
Even
like,
that, yeah.
you know exactly who drew that.
I didn't even have to look anywhere else to figure it out. I looked straight at his face and I'm like, okay, yeah, that's Oda. Which is brilliant, because again, you read something and you know who to attribute it to, or at the very least, even if you don't know like the name of the person, you know, wow, One Piece man did that.
What about this one?
Yeah.
Who is it?
That's Togashi, isn't it?
Yeah, it's Togashi.
Yeah. You know what's funny? The way I recognize it is it looks like another character from their series.
It kind of looks like Killua.
Yeah. Like when you show when you do the one that Bleach Man did. I look at it and I'm like, okay, I see Piccolo and I see Trunks. Trunks looks a bit like Ichigo almost. Piccolo looks a bit like Kenpachi. Okay, I know he made it. I look at Oda's Dragon Ball. I see he looks a bit like Luffy. Okay, it's Oda. I look at Togashi's. Oh, it looks like Killua. It must be Togashi, which I find interesting.
So look at this one.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's One Piece.
Yeah, it's Oda's awesome. We did Wolf Tank Feast.
It looks it looks you know it reminded me of initially when I saw that a bit like Robin, maybe because I don't know.
The hair,
Also
maybe.
a bit like Zoro and Robin. That looks like that sort of feature, but even the wolf behind there looks a bit One Piecey. If One Piecey is even a word, it now is
One PC.
One Piecey. Naruto-y.
This one, I want
Dragon
to know
Ball.
if you can you figure out this one?
No.
It's Kishimoto. Remember how I was saying before that the reference was so obscure that of course he would do it.
Yeah.
When he drew Dragon Ball, because like who else was going to draw this particular element of Dragon Ball, especially original Dragon Ball, besides Kishimoto?
Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it was Kishimoto. Yeah.
Mm.
The old alien robot.
Yeah. The Xenomorph.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's all Akira Toriyama. I mean, his fame speaks for itself. And even I don't know how true this is, but I even like hearing stories of like how the reason Beerus looks like Beerus is because he based it off his cat. Which I just find humorous.
I think one of the stories I like. No, I forgot. Never mind. I can't remember.
Oh, apparently I heard that. No. It wasn't just. It was his cat, but apparently his cat was going to die, but it didn't, and then they called his cat a demon.
Yeah.
So then his cat became Beerus because Beerus is a demon, not demon, but he's a destructive man. God. Oh, what's this? Oh, that's interesting.
It's on your list, Caleb. The person's on your list.
No, I see it in the face.
Who did that one?
Obita. Takeshi Obita. The one who does Death Note.
The face looks
I get
like,
it. I see it. I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. That's good. I like how they did that. I like even the design, the design sort of liberties. But I love, even with that different design, it doesn't look like Dragon Ball. Like, you can tell it's Dragon Ball, obviously, but it doesn't 100% look like Dragon Ball.
This artist was on Alex's list.
I wouldn't be able to guess. I might be able to guess, but I...
Do you want me to guess?
Yep.
That's Yusuke Murata.
Yeah. It's the face. I look at Bulma and all I see is the buff chick. I'm gonna say it below, like this one's clearly my favorite.
What?
This is the artist of Food Wars, Shun Saiki. Good job.
That's a very good job there. Very nice.
Yeah. We can move on. We only have two left.
Alright. So moving on from Akira Toriyama onto Oda. I
The
thought he had to be on here. He's fantastic writer. And again, like I was saying, how every mangaka I think has a strength. Oda's strength is definitely his world building. He does world building very well.
Politics.
Especially, not even just world building, right? World running as well. His ability to run the world simultaneously, and his ability to have the world exist even outside of what the characters are doing, I think is really well done. And his ability to understand what is happening and the implications of a character's actions, even beyond what is immediately present to us, I think is very good. I mean, I know, I haven't.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You've read a
maybe half.
large majority of it.
But definitely far from like up to date with One Piece. But I know the parts I have read the best, the times I most enjoyed it was when they were doing the political shit. When it was just not the Straw Hats. Like, I couldn't give a shit, less of a shit. When it was, like, the Marines or that saying, oh my god, like, saying, we don't want Whitebeard to do this, or we don't want this person to do this, or this person's done that, and in the background, things happening, that was interesting.
Yeah.
That was really cool. When, it's why, Marineford is my favorite, because it's just like, the shit's happening is beyond Luffy. It has very little to do with Luffy. It's this big man coming to get this other his boy, because he's a mad lad, and he's a good man.
Built up greatly all the way from back when we heard about Ace and Drum Island. Right, Ace hunted down Whitebeard, Blackbeard hunted down Luffy, and then eventually they fought at the end of King. What was it? Skypiea?
Yeah.
We got Shanks seeing Whitebeard, seeing that, and then the world government going like, "Fuck shit, cunt."
Oh wait, when did Ace fight Blackbeard? That was at the beginning of Thriller Bark.
Beginning of what?
Beginning of Thriller Bark. End of Water 7.
Oh, it's after Water 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wouldn't have been after Skypiea.
Even
the idea that like Impel Down was like slightly referenced all the way back at Arlong.
Impel Down was great.
And then even beyond that, like in the cover stories of just like of all of like the Baroque Works members, of them getting captured and them just getting a sticker that's saying being sent to Impel Down. So Impel Down was known like way before Impel Down ever was shown or happened. Like little things like that. So like those little things though, like kind of shapes towards the audience, like these characters you could meet if you go into Impel Down, which we did.
It was always interesting when like they're like, oh, we're gonna send Robin there, and it's like, oh, I wonder what's there, and then she doesn't get sent there. It's like, oh, I guess I'll never know. Oh, hang on a minute, guess we're going there now, and that was always that was interesting. How, again, it's like, I mean, setup, but this simply put, just setup.
Yeah. Oda does a lot of setup.
And having things feel like it's always there. It's very easy for shows and series just to be like, oh yes, this thing was always in the background, you just didn't know. In One Piece, if you pay attention, it was happening in the background, which was very interesting.
Zoro did get lost in that background.
But even beyond world building, I mean, he does characters very well. I thought Usopp was a dickhead until Water 7. I was like, oh, okay, this character's not that much of a dickhead. I still is a dickhead, but not.
Robin also changed after Water 7.
Yeah, Robin.
Nami changed from early to Arlong Park.
Luffy's like him handling grief with Ace and all that, and even other characters that aren't, the main characters. They even have
Buggy
their own. They have their own characters to them, and even not black and white nature, like Garp is like, well, this man.
I'm going to fucking. He fully stated out loud that he would kill Sakazuki.
Yeah.
He had to be restrained because he would actually kill him. And then when he goes back to the village, Dadan beats the ever-loving shit out of him, with him just taking it because he knows he failed.
Mm, mm. And I think it's great to see when other characters other than the main characters are like a thing. The main characters, especially, I love it especially when the main characters aren't that important. Like, I mean, again with Marineford, like how Luffy wasn't too consequential
No.
in that thing. It really was not about him at all.
No, it had
was
nothing
about
to do with
these
him.
other much larger players.
Barely any of the
It
world
was just
government members actually knew that the relation between Ace and Luffy. No, barely anyone knew that relationship.
So what's this kid doing here?
Yeah.
It was just there. I mean, for him, obviously, he was there for a reason. But to other people who was just there,
Yeah,
they
like
didn't give a shit because Whitebeard was fucking there.
And then just the reveals though in that thing as well, just like Sengoku being up there, just saying false. Your father is not Whitebeard. Tell us who your real father is. And then when Ace shows up, it's like,
And put you, Kane.
it's the worst family in history.
I like that he still sticks by it. Whitebeard though.
Yeah.
That's his father, even if it is not biological.
Yeah, that's.
Sorry, I love that relationship.
I mean, a lot of characters, even in One Piece, like one of the things I noticed is that a lot of characters who aren't biologically related don't really ever say father or mother. Besides Whitebeard. Like, Nami never really said mother to Bellemere. She more just said Bellemere. Whereas, like, someone like Usopp said, how do you know my father? He doesn't say Yasop. Frankie says Tom, not father, when realistically it's father figure in his life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or Luffy, like, yeah, look at Luffy, he says grandpa when they're biological, yeah. But it's still bittersweet at times. Porcus
Yeah.
We could talk about it all day, but
Clearly we can.
I'm trying to restrain myself.
There is one more person on this list. The next man.
The final
Yoshihiro Togashi.
Yes.
Writer of Hunter x Hunter and Yu Yu Hakusho. It might have been a bit lower if it weren't for the fact that I've been watching Yu Yu Hakusho a bit, and I also enjoy Yu Yu Hakusho. Which is, I think, one of the few people on here where I have seen
multiple works.
Their other works.
Yeah.
Unless you
Unless you count Toaru, which I wouldn't, because it's the same world.
Yeah. But yeah. So I guess I'll start with. I mean, Yu Yu Hakusho, I suppose. From what I've watched of Yu Yu Hakusho, the characters are great. I don't think I've had a main cast where I genuinely like those four. I've never had a team that I like them all equally. If that makes sense. Oh, not equally. I mean,
you like them all enough to not
Yusuke is obviously number one, but then it's still like they're so close. There is not one that I say, yeah, I dislike them.
Yeah.
They always seem to be necessary to each other. They seem to play off each other, and they each feel like they fit. They're like puzzle pieces that fit together. You know, with Kazuma being very chivalrous, to Hiei being a bit more being a bit more of that sort of
edgelord.
To Kurama being sort of that anchor almost.
Yeah. Between
Kurama is like the one who holds Hiei and the rest together.
Yeah.
And then you got Yusuke, which is obviously Yusuke, the main character, but also sort of showing bits of Kazuma, but also being a bit tamer, but then also being a bit like he's obviously a delinquent.
Yeah. One thing I do.
But then he's also got parts of him that's a bit beyond that.
one thing I really wanted to say was like about Yu Yu Hakusho, especially, is like you can really see a lot of what inspired different characters in Hunter x Hunter, and like how he went about writing shit. Because this was a man, don't forget, that really helped that idea of a tournament arc being a shonen trope. Because because tournament arcs really came in the mid to late 80s, and obviously Yu Yu Hakusho started in the early 90s. So he really helped make that push and cement tournament arcs as a thing in shonen stories. And then you look at his own work in Hunter x Hunter, the first fucking arc is a tournament arc, and then beyond that, the next arc is essentially another tournament arc. He has a lot of tournament arcs in Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, but they're good though.
They are good. That's a man who knows how competition works.
Yeah. And I think it's his ability to incorporate stuff. And his ability to handle stuff. You know, like handling tournament arcs and making them feel, you know, satisfying and good. You know, I mean, right now in Yu Yu Hakusho, I'm in the middle of a tournament arc.
Argued to be one of the best tournament arcs in all of anime.
It is very good. So far, it's great, and even the tournament arcs of Hunter x Hunter, I think, is a good. The Heaven's Tower is like Heaven's Arena, yeah. Whatever. That's very good. You know, seeing them go up and beat the living shit out of everyone, and then it's like, now Nen. Oh shit.
What's this?
We're getting fucked.
Okay.
And then that putting okay, and then now we'll move on to Hunter x Hunter.
York no.
When they sort of implant the ideas of how he implants the ideas of Nen, but it slowly is built on over time. You know, I mean, Kishimoto does a little bit with Chakra, how he starts off basic and adds more to it. And I think Togashi does a bit similar with Nen in that he has the basics in terms of, you know, how you gather Nen and all that, and then eventually it moves on to some more applications until eventually it moves on to the fucking unique shit of just, look, I created chains. Look, I've made a big surgical demon. Look, I have a slot machine. That goes beyond what we initially knew, but we always knew that was there. We always sort of felt like there was a greater application of it.
Yeah.
And I love how as it went on, it felt like the world got deeper and deeper as they went more into the areas of it, if that makes sense. Because obviously, I mean, Nen is not really visible to non-Nen users. So until they actually learn Nen, then they start to understand, okay, this is what actually makes the other hunters so powerful, and this is what the gods of this world are essentially like doing. You know what I mean? And I like that sort of journey on the audience learning how the power system works, which I think is done quite well in a narrative sense. But then that's also but then there's also the other narrative things. I mean, I've jerked it off so many times. Like the Chimera Ant arc, I fucking love it so much. But then even when I was rewatching it, I noticed other aspects of characters that were good from the get-go. Like when I noticed that Hisoka really wasn't a villain. You know, obviously first time going through it, you sort of see him as a villain because that's sort of visually, that's how he's portrayed.
You see him as a shifty cunt.
But then once you already know, you begin to realize he's actually more of a rival than anything. He's actually more of just an obstacle for the character to get better rather than an obstacle for the character's goal, if that makes sense.
And he's not invincible.
Yeah. That's true.
He's very much
and
invincible.
and even other characters. I mean, like Kurapika, how he has his own journey and his own story, and how
Just
how
the
it almost
motivations, yeah.
and how it almost it's almost like it's a side story, but it's not. Like it's not a side story; it's part of the story. These two sides of it, and how you sort of tell it within the same story, but it's a side story. But it's not separate, but it is, and I quite enjoy that. And then eventually, you know, it comes back together and mixes and mashes, and I quite enjoy how that's done. And then obviously, you know, as I was talking about before with uh, Takeshi Obata and Sugumi Oba, how they do themes, and Togashi, he also does themes. You know, again, prime example is Chimera Antark with all the themes there about humanity and monstrosity, I suppose, and good, evil, nature, nurture. All these themes, and I like how they play with them and how different characters showcase these themes in different ways, and even before that with other arcs, you know, looking at say the Phantom Troop and each character and how they sort of, you know, how I mean these characters are all murderers, but then at the death of one of their comrades, they feel some type of way, um, and how characters like Kurapika and fuck, what's her name? The other girl, the one that can hear heartbeats.
Melody.
Melody, that's it. And how she how she comprehends Kurapika, um, and the way she seeks to understand him. And then when you look at other cases with Killua, and how Killua's sort of, I fucking love Killua's and Gon's relationship. I love how that's written. I think, in my personal opinion, I think they're one of the best duos in Shonen. Uh, they just work so well with each other. Uh, how Gon is sort of, you know, Gon is on his own journey, but he's so friendly. He's willing to make friends, and he's willing to not give a shit that Killua is was an assassin and still sort of is, and the things he goes about doing. And then it's because of that Killua is able to lean on Gon, and Gon can be his light, as Killua puts it. And I love how that plays, how that in that when you get to like Chimera Antark, how when Gon is no longer that light, it you can see how it affects Killua, and how all of a sudden this person he lent on for that is now different. And I fucking love when writers do that with characters, and when they have those when they have characters have connections, and then when that the other character changes and the connection wavers, how another character is affected by that, and how the other character um, takes it, how the other character processes it, I suppose. Um, and I think that's just fantastic writing. Um, and it was great. It was great again when I rewatched it, that it was writing that had been throughout Hunter x Hunter, and it was always there, and these themes and these connections were always being created, which is fantastic, fantastic, and that's why I put him here, because
Just jerking off all of Hunter x Hunter.
mad lad,
I put him here.
mad lad, and it's great to see that even in Yu Hakusho, um, even then I was like, this is also very, very good. The first episode of Yu Hakusho was fucking great. When Yusuke is like, oh, I'm dead, but I don't want to come back, and then him sort of seeing how that affects people, I thought was just, I thought that was fucking fantastic first episode. So yeah, I love, yeah, fucking fantastic. Mad Dog Rider. Yeah, that's my that's
Yeah.
that's why he's on my list.
Yeah. Well, that's fair. Yeah. Okay. No comments. No.
Do you have anything to say?
Oh, no, you fucking nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah. No. I mean, I do just want to quickly give some shout outs to Hiroyuki Taikei, Koji Miura, Hajime Komoto, Hideyuki Furuhashi, Bentencourt, Satoru Noda, Kazue Kato, Taik Kubo, and Amano Akira for their works as well. That's my little shout out bit. Because I can only fit so many.
Bro, now I feel like I should have gotten fucking. I want to say, okay, here's my shout out to fucking Chico Umino. March was like a lion. Fucking nice. That's it.
What about Orange?
I don't know the fucking artist of Orange.
Oh.
Now I feel bad for it. Fuck you. Hang on. Bastard. Written by Ichigo Takano. Very nice. Very good job.
Yeah.
Just a big thumbs up to that guy.
That's the end of this stream.
Who is this?
Here's my honorable mention.
Oh.
Jeff Johns, fuck yourself.
Okay, that's the end. That's the end.